with Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022, and at least until June, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely via video conference, so we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. Please join in for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America and to the republic
which
for
it
which
stands,
stands one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice
for all. Thanks. Florian, want to take a roll call, please?
Madam Chair,
Present.
Vice Chair Finnerty,
Present.
the Secretary is here. Board Member Long, I believe, is absent. Board Member Catalinato,
Present.
Board Member Mutu,
Present.
Board Member Neely.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a full agenda posted on the town's website for today's meeting. The town's planning staff, as well as applicants and their representatives, will be participating by a Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Certain will be muting and holding the speakers in a virtual waiting room until it's their time to give testimony before the board. A reminder that applicants and their agents should state their name and the address for the record. As is typical, there are no public comments allowed during any daytime meetings, nor is it appropriate for the public to use the chat function to comment on applications. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website. This meeting is also being live streamed on the town's website on the town clerk's meeting portal. If you're having difficulty accessing the meeting, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the discussion and vote on the application. Finally, in accordance with the legislation, this meeting will be recorded and transcribed at a later date and will be made available to the public. Claire, can you check with Christine Scalera? I'd like for her to be here.
Just kidding. Anthony's gonna go get her.
Okay.
And then Chuck, Chuck, I see that you're here. Do you have your attorney here too?
He is. Can you hear me? I'm unmuted, but my picture's not showing up.
We can hear you.
Okay. As long as you can hear me. Yes. John Scott Pedenti. Okay.
He's in the waiting
He
room.
just got promoted. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the other person?
No, John Scott Prudente. I think you just promoted him. Oh, no, he's there. If you could promote him, John Scott Prudente. Christine's in exec session right now. Did you want to go?
Well, then let's go on
Anthony?
to, yeah, let's go to Anthony. Number 3, Anthony.
Yes.
Any
Hey, everybody.
comments?
There, can you turn off here?
So we're doing number 3.
Number 3. Okay. So this was an application for a pre-submission conference. This is Mid-Ocean Drive in Bridgehampton. You come to the end of it, and there's a private not-for-profit beach club there, tennis courts, building, swimming pool, pretty typical. You've seen it before under A&E Club Properties. They've come in for a pre-submission conference for renovation to an existing building and for partial second floor addition. Looks like it'll be used for exercise room and that kind of use associated with the building. We did a pre-submission conference on this. So I have comments for the board. This is R60 zone. This previously received a special exception approval for the beach club use, which is a special exception use in the R60 zone. And the site plan here shows the existing building. and where the improvements are in relation to the rest of the site. The coastal erosion hazard line, which is hard to see here. It looks like most of the building is actually landward of the coastal erosion hazard line. The property is, or this building, I should say, is located in FEMA flood zone VE 18 as well, and that's noted in the report. So with respect to the addition, here were my comments. We didn't get any public comments at the pre-submission conference.
Anthony, just tell us briefly what additions they're doing. The second floor.
A second floor addition, which will include a rooftop deck. Let me just go back to the plan.
Second floor,
So
roof deck.
there's an existing building here that's being used. They're doing a second floor addition, which will include a new exercise room. You know, whatever other facilities associated with the exercise room, and a rooftop deck as well. So that's what the scope was.
Same square footage for each floor?
It's only a partial second floor addition, so the second floor would be smaller than the footprint.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. You can
No problem.
follow the report.
Okay. So the first comment was, it looks like the property was surveyed in 2014, and then has been having various site plan updates. So I'm recommending that the survey be updated to depict all site improvements, site conditions. For example, it shows that there's a proposed sand access to the existing parking lot, which was part of a previous approved site plan. So let's get it updated with the new wetlands line, all the relevant information. Two, given the issues, as we'll discuss below, regarding compliance with FEMA and the coastal erosion hazard area regulations, it's recommended that the applicant meet with the chief building inspector prior to submitting a formal site plan application with the planning board. Just as a little reminder, you had a situation within the last couple of years where the planning board did a site plan approval for another beach club. And then when they went to go get a building permit, it was determined that the building would have to be elevated to meet FEMA construction standards. And then it had to come back to the planning board for an amendment. So in order to prevent that, I think the applicant should work that out with the building inspector. So to that point, number three, the site plan shows a setback of 92.5 feet from the proposed second story addition to the top of northerly rank of dunes. That's what the survey shows. But the setback needs to be taken from the crest of dune, which is not identified on the plan. So that needs to be done. And further, while it appears the existing building and the proposed addition fall landward of the coastal erosion hazard line, as I said, the project may still be subject to a coastal erosion hazard permit, depending on certain factors, including the setback to the crest of dune and whether the classification of the work by the chief building inspector is considered major or non-major, and that gets made by the building inspector. So that's noted in here to put the applicant on alert. Number four, regarding the FEMA flood zone, as I said, it's in FEMA flood zone VE elevation 8, which requires a minimum elevation of 20 feet for the lowest horizontal structure supporting the lowest level, so 2 feet above the base flood elevation of 18. The existing building is not FEMA compliant, and so if the proposed addition, improvements, and interior renovations are deemed to be substantial by the by the building department, the building would then need to be elevated to meet FEMA standards. And I put in with that the definition taken directly from the code on what a substantial improvement is. Obviously, this is a determination made by the building inspector, but puts the applicant on notice that they have to provide that information so that determination can be made. Number five talks about the architectural style. It's consistent with the existing building, which is just horizontal cedar siding. So the architecture is going to be the same. However, given the FEMA and coastal erosion issues, the architect should meet with the building inspector to make sure there are no issues with any of those regulations. To that point, the site plan shows a stair bulkhead to provide access to the rooftop deck. Under the code, typically that does not count towards height. But the building department typically requires or allows a footprint necessary just to enclose the stair and the elevator to the top, and no larger. There's no specific standards in the code relating to size, but again, I would recommend that the architect meet with the building department to make sure that the bulkhead, stair bulkhead, doesn't pose any zoning issues. I don't see any, but I would just recommend it given it's in the flood zone. And height could become an issue if building has to be elevated. 6, the wetlands are well over 200 feet from the edge from the new addition, but the wetlands line was last verified in 2001, so that should be updated. And then 7, the project is an unlisted action under SECRA, and the applicant should submit a short form with the formal application.
Is there anyone here to represent this? Anthony?
Lisa Zaluga, I believe, is here. She's not here, Charles?
Coming in.
Okay.
Hello,
Yes,
Lisa.
Lisa. Mhm.
how are you?
Good,
Somehow I
Anthony.
lost all of you. I can't see any of you now, so I don't know that you can see me.
Oh,
We can see you.
Okay. Oh, there you are.
So Anthony just reviewed the pre-application report. Did you have any issues with it or want to discuss any of it?
No, I don't have any issues with it. I had already seen it, and I've already been to the building department. I originally spoke with Dennis when he was the chief regarding the calculations for Fema, but I will go back and discuss that with Sean. And I had already had a conversation with Sean about the bulkhead. So I believe we're okay, and I can go forward and get the wetlands and the new surveys and that kind of stuff. But I will go back to Sean and just with the whole plan now and have a full conversation.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
No.
No,
I have one quick question, Jackie.
Yeah,
Lisa, was there any indication from your previous conversation whether the building had to be elevated to meet FEMA?
No, my previous conversation with Dennis was a discussion of how to calculate it. And he basically told me what square footage I was allowed to use in terms of calculating the 50% expansion. And so using those numbers, he told me just to supply him with, the cost estimates and all of those. And as long as it worked, it worked. So that was how we went forward with the design. So I'm assuming that we're still all good.
Okay.
so the FEMA requirement is based on the cost of the renovation?
Yes, there's two kind of ways to calculate it. If you were doing a straight addition, it's generally 50% of the building. If you're doing an addition and a renovation, it gets into a 50% of the cost. And there's a list of things that are included in that cost and how you calculate that.
Okay, it seems like FEMA is such an environmental issue, yet the measure for it is dollars and cents.
It's all dollars and cents.
Strange, yes, Anthony?
Okay, I'm curious if you did in fact have to elevate the building, which would involve in a quite different amount of site disturbance, having to raise the building and pile and elevate, plus ramps to get up to the building, it becomes a different site plan altogether.
Yeah, I actually think that if they had to renovate the building based on the scope of work that we have, that we would shrink it even more to make it so that we didn't have to. This building is kind of used very closely with the pool and the pool, the pool surface there, and to elevate it just is not going to work for them. So
Okay.
whatever we do, we will do something that makes it so that we don't have to elevate it.
I got you. Thank you.
Okay, so can I have a motion to accept the pre-app report? As Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is Jackie here for Windy Hill Farm, or Claire, do you want to take 311 Montauk Highway?
Yeah, I think Christine's here.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I see
Christine?
her. Not quite sure if she's turned on.
There you are. We were waiting.
I'm sorry, I was in executive session with the town board.
Okay. All right, so we'll then go back to number 1, Bridge Petroleum, and Chuck, you are here, and John Scott Prudenti is here. Okay. Claire, it's all yours.
Okay, so based upon the last meeting, planning board still had some issues with the environmental issues on the property. And I have updated the documents accordingly for your consideration. In talking with the chair earlier this week, I think you suggested a conditioned neg deck in this case with some conditions. I'm not quite sure how the rest of the board feels about that, before maybe some feedback before we get started. But what I can do is go through that narrative again, and maybe the ones that I've also highlighted were the points that you had issues with the last meeting, and then you can ask me if you want to add any language to those items. We can go
Right.
through that. Does that make sense?
You got my checklist this morning of items that we need to cover.
I did not. I did see that you sent me an email, but I'm sorry. Just didn't
Okay,
chance to
well-
open it. We can go through that.
Yeah, let me just go through it since I think it's germane.
Okay.
So we need to take into consideration traffic restrictions, no left turn onto Walker, which may require an in-ground separator. We need to define the curb improvements on Walker, whether we're doing a split rail fence and adding grass. We're going to add street trees on Walker. We have to post no parking signs both on Walker and 27 and have the appropriate municipal permits for that. We have to remove the illegal vacuum stations that are now in operation. We'd like a list of convenience store products to be sold, number of walk-ins. I don't know that we have a good definition of the interior. We have to look at the setbacks from the rear and the side. And then the environmental issues, the in-ground tanks, when were they replaced? And do we have certification of that? So these were the key issues that, though we've talked about them and around them, I just wanted to make a list to make sure that that we're appropriate. Now, some of the board members may have some other issues. So, you know, it's open for discussion. Does anybody have any other?
I know last week or last meeting, there was discussion, probably led mostly by Robin, but about, potential noise issues with trucks backing up and the beep, the sound the trucks make when
Noise,
they
right.
park on site.
Right. Let's add
And-
that noise.
And I was looking a little bit closer at the site plan today, and Claire, we're just doing it secret now, not a site plan approval at this point, right? The site plan, they haven't submitted for
Yeah,
approval yet.
secret. It's then going to go back to the ZBA.
Yeah,
Right. That's what I thought. So, just, I don't know if it's appropriate at this time, but, they do have a, like a 20-foot buffer on the south side of the property by the parking lot for landscaping. So at what point do we suggest, proper landscaping that could probably assist with noise mitigation or even light filtering through to neighboring properties when people pull up and leaving? Maybe a solid fence, a solid wood fence or vinyl fence to kind of assist with that, and a very dense, very dense landscape buffer along the east and south side of the properties to kind of assist with those issues.
George, those are good issues, but they kind of fall under the purview of site plan.
I understand, yes.
Yeah, this application is going to come back to us
Right.
Actually, if I may, I think that those issues which you've identified as legitimate issues during the secret process, as we have heard from surrounding residents and has been raised by several board members, I think that those, if you are going to go in a direction of a condition negative declaration, that would be entirely appropriate to make those conditions of your negative declaration.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the appropriateness of a conditioned neg deck is that these conditions have to be met in order to have the application approved. So
I would refrain from being specific. In other words, you could insert language, landscaping and possible fencing to mitigate noise, something like that, as opposed to identifying specific landscape species to
Yeah.
No,
be
I
planted.
agree.
Same thing with lighting to comply with town of Southampton lighting standards, 0 lumens at property line,
right.
that type of thing.
And traffic circulation with no right turn, no left turn onto Walker.
Yeah, those need to be.
Those are important
Right.
conditions that have to be met.
Yeah,
Can I address that for a second? We don't have a problem with it, but the thing is that a lot of the people that come here would come here to gas up their boat. They would then probably go down Walker, down to the marina, down at the Quad Marina there, to launch their boat, so it would be an inconvenience for them. We don't care, but I mean, I think if you want to consider the people in the area that use this station and use this facility, that might be an imposition on them.
But I think the majority of the people using the gas in your pumps are not necessarily boat owners.
Oh, I
Lori?
totally agree with that, but I'm just thinking about the ones that are boat owners.
Florian?
Yeah, I went through the special exception stuff again yesterday, and I'm still struggling with the fact that this really is not an immediate effect, medium effect on the character of the community. I mean, I think this changes the scope of the gas station tremendously. So I'm struggling with saying that this is not a high impact.
Understood.
Okay.
May I say a few things?
Craig, please.
Yeah, I read through the report quite a bit. I spent a great deal of time on it. I have a number of things I'd like to address. I agree with Glorian. I don't think this project's in keeping with the character of the community. I think the canopy, the tight confines are departure from what's going on in the area. In terms of impact on noise, odor, and light, I believe that the headlights could pose an issue for the surrounding homes. The slamming of car doors, the sound of deliveries, car radios, all these can, again, be a negative impact on the surrounding homes. Increased food use, will mean more waste in a dumpster, could create, unwelcome odors, and that could actually attract unwelcome little critters. I think the delivery times, the language we put into, some of the stipulations there, I think the delivery times will be very, very difficult to enforce. And I don't think they would stand up to challenge if the applicant ultimately decides that they're too restrictive. Traffic and parking along Walker. Yes, I understand we could put in, no parking signs and the like, but ultimately those are going to be awfully difficult to enforce. This type of activity, people typically pull up, they're there for 5 minutes, they'll run and grab coffee or, whatever it is, and then they're back in their car. I think by the time someone files a complaint with the police officer, that car will be moved. So I have a number of things here, more so than most files, that I'm very, very uncomfortable with.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig, because you've added a lot more volume to just my concern.
Right, and to mine. Any other input from the planning board on this? Okay.
So is it, circling back to Craig, are you saying the impacts are large?
Yeah, I would.
Large.
I'm sorry, I should have clarified that earlier. I think, moderate to large. All the points that I brought up, the impacts would be considered moderate to large, in my opinion.
Right.
So that would lead to a pause deck.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm going.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, it doesn't lead to a pause deck. It's up to you all. You can still do a conditional neg deck. That's your call.
Right. Okay, shall we hear
from
from,
a couple more board members?
right, we heard from Craig, heard from me. I tend to agree with both Gloria and Craig on the issues that are, I mean, certainly the neighborhood. Walker is an established community, and I did a site visit there, and there are wonderful old homes and new homes. But the traffic at that intersection is intense. So,
And I think while Montauk Highway has many commercial areas on it, I don't think this is. So it really,
It is.
their houses all around.
yeah, it's very residential. Tom, anything from your part?
Well, I would appreciate if get a little more of an explanation about the differences between a neg deck with conditions and a pause deck in terms of, what does that require then of the applicant, and how does it affect the process?
Christine and Claire, can you?
Yeah, I can speak to this. So you do a condition neg deck if you feel there's a couple issues that can be mitigated with some specific conditions. Like in the past, we've done this for appearances of buildings. We said we wanted to be more natural materials, peaked roof, and we put that right in a condition neg deck, and the applicant abided by it, came back with a new design. But it was a very focused issue, one or two issues that you would focus on. But we mitigate things all the time through a site plan. So it's definitely something that could be in keeping. Positive declaration is saying that you can't really mitigate with a couple conditions. You're going to have to do more of an investigation into how to mitigate these projects, and that is done through the public process of a positive declaration. And then an EIS.
If I can just read a sentence, in kind of when you have a conditional neg deck, so the lead agency must document its conclusion that any potential impacts are not significant, or that any potentially significant impacts would be adequately mitigated through either the standards within the jurisdiction of the lead and other involved agencies, or through special conditions of the neg deck, of the condition neg deck. So.
Okay. Well, I will say I share all, the condition of the concerns that have been expressed by others today. I share pretty much all of those concerns.
But the issues Craig has raised speak to the use.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to be mitigated.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, this is a question, maybe I'm looking for guidance from Christine and Claire or anybody else on the board. I mean, how do we balance the existing use, which is similar but not identical, and improvements being made? We can.
I'm going to caution you against looking at the use. You have to look at the impacts of whatever is being done there. And so that's your charge right now, is to look at the environmental impacts of whatever is being proposed to be done there, and whether or not those result in significant impacts that can either not be mitigated or can be mitigated. And that's what you have to really determine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, George, for example, there's an addition here, though it functions as a gas station, they now want a convenience store.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that addition essentially changes the use. Okay, I think we should hear from the applicants.
Can I make a point here? What we're doing is we're not changing the gas station. The gas station is CO'd. It is permitted to be used. It will always stay there. What we're proposing to do is eliminate the use of a repair garage and change that, which is a non-conforming use in the zone, and change it to a more conforming use, which is an accepted accessory use to a gas filling station, and it's a much less of an environmental use than is a repair garage. So that's all we're proposing to do. The other changes on the site, if you take a look at the site now, there are no curbs on Walker, there is no landscaping, there is no drainage, there is no lighting. The site lacks everything, and the appearance of the site is a horror, in my opinion. My client wants to remove the bad things of the site. He wants to improve the site so it conforms with the area. He loves the area. That's why he bought the station. And what he wants to do is fix this station and make it that it belongs in the setting. This is not going to go away as a gas station. It will continue to be one. And if this is denied, what happens is he's probably going to go back to using this as a repair garage. Although it's not necessary in the area because we have one on each direction, maybe 500 to 1,000 feet away in either direction, there are repair garages, and it's not necessary.
If I may, with this application satisfies the concerns that are laid out in secret. We could disagree, but where I think sometimes the community gets a little bit confused, or perhaps it's willful blindness, is that the function of this gas station cannot be affected by either this board or by the ZBA. We are trying to bring an antiquated building with a better use and the precedence is there. I mean, we're not saying that this is it will be far from the last repaired bay to turn into a convenience store in our county. We've looked into the tankage issues. They are certified. The facility has been maintained. The facility has been updated. Keep in mind of what this was. When the Mendels all had it, look at the condition of the property then, look at it as to what it is now. There is nothing from stopping the operator of the station to selling his gasoline for 2 cents over his cost, and there will be traffic miles down on each road trying to get there. And there is nothing that anybody could do about it because it is a gas station. And as long as he's permitted for that use, which cannot be taken away, what we're trying to do is take a building and bring it in and blend it into the community with services which are reasonable. And this is a venue where we will certainly take into account the neighbors' concerns, considerations. I have spoken to my client about restricted hours. No problem. I'm listening to the suggestions that are being made with respect to landscaping. No problem. With respect to the privacy screening, no problem. I am looking at the same operators building an operation next to my office building. These are clean and professional operators. They will not be posing a problem. There will not be rodents running around. There will not be overflowing dumpsters. This is a very, very successful operator with a gas station attendant in the front at all times, moving cars. They make 60 cents a car. They make $1 a soda. There's a big difference. They're not looking to do discount fuel here and create traffic problems. It's just not that kind of business.
Can I
This
ask
application
you?
has similarities. I was going to say similarities to the BOLA application, which Anthony handled. It was sort of on the periphery of a high density residential area. That's the one across from Wild by Nature in Hampton Bays, where you have high density residential, cross street side access, very similar type of application. I mean, that's the problem. It's not the specifics of this site. It's the fact that in the early 90s, the zoning board made a decision that convenience stores were accessory to gasoline filling stations. They sort of follows a national trend, but they made that determination, and this is an accessory use. The question is, what are our powers under the site plan? Site plan provisions, landscaping, lighting, and so forth. That's where we need to do our focus. I think a lot of this focus is on the use, and a lot of the correspondence we're getting from the neighbors is on the use, and that's beyond our board. You know, we were never supportive. Our board was never supportive of putting convenience stores in part of gas stations. I was part of that early application. It was a Hess station on the North Highway. Round and round, the ZBA went. We were saying, don't do it. They did it. We've done a couple of dozen since then. So,
Mr. Prudetti, would your applicant continue with this application if there was not a small convenience store located interior?
So you say continue with the application or continue with the operation? Because my client is not going to renovate and invest money into a facility where if this is his highest and best use, he may look for stations, elsewhere. The problem that could arise, and I live in the community, but I live on the I'm from the west side, but we're in the same school district and we pay a lot of taxes into that district. So I kind of I'm in this community, and this is not a bad use. This is a far better use in a residential neighborhood than somebody fixing mufflers at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, welding, and they are entitled to do so in that area. And that's my problem with the operation. And it seems that the times that I've spoken to neighbors about it, it's been suggested that you make it an office building. It's a gas station. It's a gas station that's going to repair cars and sell gas, or it's a gas station that's going to sell gas and sell convenience store products. And that's the crux of the issue.
So Claire, where are we with this, and how do we want to proceed? I mean, we can take a vote.
You could take a vote. I think you should take a vote on a document that the majority feels comfortable with. I'm counting 4 votes.
I support the conditional negative declaration. It allows us to implement appropriate site plan conditions, landscaping, lighting, circulation, hours. I think we've heard hours of operation. That's where our authority lies. The ZBA will make the ultimate decision, but they went down a certain road 25 years ago.
Right. And the impact on Walker, I mean, that is key here, because that is a nexus to community character.
You have no problem with the parking restrictions as suggested at the last with respect to street parking. We're looking to be a good application and good neighbors.
It's ironic that you brought up the boat issue, Chuck, because it's really the people of Walker who are going to be penalized now if racing up on a rainy evening to get a quart of milk, and now they can't exit the facility and go back home. I mean,
I don't know that they're going to be selling milk. What are you selling inside?
If it's similar to
typical convenience store, which I'm sure you all been in, coffee, milk, soda, beer, newspapers, ice cream, and various sundries, soaps, things like that, miscellaneous small items, cigarettes probably, miscellaneous small items. Milk is a big part of it. Milk, eggs, butter, yes.
So this is 800 square feet, Claire. What's the size of the convenience? I know we had a very detailed analysis of the walk-in. There are no walk-ins. They're just wall units.
I think there are walk-in fridges. I might be mistaken, but I can pull that up.
Yeah.
But it's 1,350, a 1,350 square foot building with, of that space, 900 square feet is retail.
900.
There is a floor plan of this building, which you should have.
I have it.
Material.
We looked at it.
It shows reaching refrigerators. It shows a coffee counter. It shows Gondolas, I believe there's 2 gondolas for storage of sundry items. And a cashier's counter, basically, other than the mechanicals and the toilets. So that's basically the interior of the store. It's very small.
I'd almost like to rather defer the left-hand turn of Walker and save that for the public hearing on the site plan and hear directly from the residents of Walker Avenue. Have them tell us directly we don't want people allowed to drive down. Because I can't imagine, I mean, I know that area pretty well. If you're not in that node, that Walker Avenue, Bay, whatever the roads are, you're not going to be driving down there unless you're a resident. Why would anyone drive down there? Unless it's not a through, in other words, it's not a through area. You can't cut around and bypass the traffic and Quag to jump back out of Montauk Highway. It's sort of like a closed community. But I'd rather get that input from the residents of Walker Avenue in the site plan.
Yes, but then there's no guarantee that we'll get it if we don't get it in the condition.
Oh, we can implement it.
Oh.
Absolutely, we can implement it. Think of all the site plans on the North Highway where there's no left turn. They're everywhere. Certainly we can implement it. Is that correct, Claire? I mean, I think we can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr.
Certainly within our
Finn's got a
site.
great point about the people in the area, but we don't have a problem. If you want to put a condition that you can't make a left at it onto Walker, we have no problem with that.
There again, it's a site
Finn's
plan
got a
issue.
good point.
It's premature. It's a
Well,
site
we
plan.
really even looked again at the site plan and the location of the building. And I don't know how we missed this to begin with, but the location of the building does not allow for circulation around the building. Therefore, when you come in and go out, you are limited in terms of egress and how you move around, because there's so little circulation on the east side of the building.
It's a constrained site. Absolutely.
You have to understand, part of the zoning is that there's a 30-foot setback off of Walker Avenue. There's a 30-foot setback off of Montauk Highway. So it eliminates it pushes the building all the way over to the property to the east of it. All right, because I believe there's a 15-foot minimum setback from that property. Doesn't allow us to drive around the building, and if it did, then you would have a driveway right in these people to the east's bedroom window or whatever it is over on that side of the building. It would be right next to them. Intentionally, I kept it this way so that the traffic didn't go past any residents, adjacent residents.
Well, you have
Yeah,
a residence. You have a residence to the south.
I'm sorry?
You have a property to the rear of the site. You butt up against a residence.
Well, first of all, that we are not allowed to park in the front yard on any front yard. We can only park on the rear yard, and that's the only rear yard we have. Now, so you understand, in that area there's a 20-foot setback off of the property line. That 20-foot setback is going to have a 6-foot high stockade type fence. This is I'm quoting out of your code. It's a 6-foot stockade fence with a landscape buffer in front of it. Now, on the other side, on the residential property to the south, there's a gap. Their garage butts up against the property line, and their house is almost 50 foot away from that property line. So it's well buffered as can be expected against a business, a commercial site as this is.
Okay, so Claire, our choices here are to review this as a conditional neg deck or pos deck.
Correct. And
No.
I'm counting votes for a pause deck of 4. Am I correct?
There was confusion.
Well, I think the conditional neg deck you explained. So let's do that first. I mean, everybody understands the distinction. Once it's pos deck, then it goes through, well, then it's going back to the ZBA, right?
Once it's pause deck, you're doing a full environmental review with a scope and a DEIS if the applicant chooses to pursue the application.
Right, and so that it's not going to the ZBA yet.
No, it would be with you, but the ZBA would be a involved party because they
An
would
involved agency, yeah,
ultimately rely on your determinations.
right.
I mean, the way I see this is that if we believe that we can identify all the problems and specifically I list them in the
Condition.
conditional neg deck,
Mhm.
if
Right.
if we believe we're unable to do that, then we have to do a pause deck.
Right.
Does
But I
that make-
think-
You've identified significant adverse impacts as a result of the accessory use that is proposed, which is an expansion of this, which is why it's before the ZBA to get their permission. If associated with that expansion, you have identified significant adverse impacts that you cannot mitigate through conditions, then you are left with that alternative.
Okay. Is
And
everybody be clear about that distinction?
And we have to also identify how this application gets pos deck, but the other half dozen applications, including the BOLA, which is very similar, didn't. And I'm sure Mr. Prudenti is going to ask us that question.
I think it's also important that you make the distinction between what is a problem as a result of what's going on site right now and what will change as a result of the instant application. That's the only factors you should be looking at, not what's going on right now, but the change
Yeah.
between what's going on right now.
Right, the addition of a convenience store, et
It's a
cetera.
little misleading because the repair, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, the repair operation has been temporarily shut down. I don't recall seeing any repair activity there.
That's correct. It has been temporarily shut down because we've been trying this project. It can be reoperated because it's still a viable gas station, which is that's an accessory function to it.
Okay, so let's take a vote. Who's in favor of a condition neg deck that says that we can mitigate these circumstances? So.
Well, should we have the conditions before we vote on that, Jackie, or is this a
Well,
process?
that's why I gave this long list to Claire. Claire, do you want to look at that or what?
So I have identified all the issues in that part 3, which I can put up on the page, and then we can actually say, yes, that will be condition number 1. The whole thing is a supporting document, but actual conditions like there should be no left turn, would be a condition. So yes, we can look at that.
And Claire, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did a draft condition on that declaration, which actually did address most, if not all of the conditions, but several of the conditions that were in. Actually, you didn't read the email, but I briefly looked at it.
Right. So this is just building on the neg deck from last meeting, but now we're identifying specific conditions that would be part of a condition.
Right. And that if they are not met, then there is no approval. we need to have some kind of carrot and stick here in terms of making sure.
But you don't have
other
an
than
approval.
pause decking it, that.
I just want to be clear though, you don't have an approval right now, though. That's not what we're looking at right now. Right now, you're just looking at the SECRA.
The secret process, right.
And
So
Christine,
if we pause deck, could someone explain to me what we hope to get at the other end? Because I'd hate to see that the application's pause deck as a mechanism for creating process in hopes that the application's withdrawn. So could someone explain what they foresee at the other end of the pause deck?
Dennis, would it be okay if we just went along with Jackie was saying and identified the issues and then see if they could be meaningfully mitigated such that?
Absolutely. That's what I support.
As
Yeah,
opposed to.
I think you have 3 people on the board here supporting a condition neg deck. I don't
If
know.
we
about
come to
all.
agreement on the conditions, I think then we could make a
Okay,
you know,
so let's,
intelligent
Claire,
vote.
why don't you walk through the conditions?
Christine, before Claire, can I ask one question? So
Yeah.
with a conditional neg deck, if if it is found that the applicant is having difficulty in mitigating any impacts, could that then go, could the result of that become eventually a pause deck, or change to a pause deck at the end if we need to have a full EIS?
I think that that would probably become a legal issue. However, I could see a pathway if you found it to be a problem when they are before you on the site plan, and now you know that they can't do that which you asked them to do. That's like new information. You could then perhaps do a supplemental, or that's new information. You could start the process somewhat over. I mean, it's going to be a legal issue that we'd have to work through. I'm not going to pretend like it would be no big deal. But I could see a path where you could potentially do that, but that at that point, that would be deemed new information. So you'd have to look at SECR through that point at the site plan phase.
Can I read from the SECR regs, George? This may clarify a little bit because I printed them out to take a look. I think you might have also. The lead agency, that's us, can attach conditions which are explicitly articulated standards within that lead agency's underlying jurisdiction, or conditions that an applicant is otherwise legally obligated to meet in order to obtain a permit or approval. So that's essentially what we're saying here. So do you want to go over the conditions so that we?
Yeah, so let's do that and see if we can parse out the conditions. And we'll add some language to it per anybody's comments. So let me share. So this is what we were working on last week, the last meeting. I just highlighted the information about the installation of the tanks here, but I don't think any of these are conditions. This is a description here. This is some statements about the nonconformity of the use. This is some information again about the tanks and the landscaped areas and buffers, which George was talking about. That's all part of a site plan approval. So I don't think we have to be very specific, and they are showing conformance with the 20-foot buffer to the rear, and we can add landscaping through it. So I don't see any conditions coming out of impact on land unless somebody wants to add anything. And then impact on surface water, again, I think these are facts, and they don't have any specific conditions. Again, with the impact on groundwater, I mean, we could make sure that the IA system is installed if you want to, but they're offering it at this time. So I'm not quite sure if you want to feel strong about putting that as a condition.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we be specific? It's important that we be, I think, as specific as possible here.
Okay. So I think that's not a problem to add that. I'll put that as the #1 condition. These will all be supporting documents, but I'll have a specific, this is your condition to be met. So impacts on aesthetic resources, again, they've been redesigned. And here's the landscape buffers again, because it is an aesthetic component too.
Street trees, we're looking at street trees, we're looking at fencing.
Okay, I have that later, but we can have that here, and that could be condition #2 would be the street tree requirement.
On the Walker Avenue side.
Mm-hmm. And probably one on Montauk, but
I think if anything, none on there and 2 on Walker.
oh, we could.
However it can be laid out. I mean, it should look as best as it possibly can look on the residential side.
I'm going to put 2 on Walker and 1 on Montauk, but we can always add. Okay, this would be a minimum. Does that sound good?
Yeah, and what about what is this heading?
This heading is impact on aesthetic resources.
Oh, so what about the closing up of the or striping of the 27, the open area that it is now? It's totally open. Were we not going to put striping? Were we not going to put?
There's a landscape island that's going in, and that's part of the curb cut. I put that under transportation. Does that make sense?
Oh, I'm not quite sure where you put it. I would put it in both places just to be sure, but.
Yeah, the closing of the curb cuts, reorganization, elimination of large curb cuts will offer more organized and safer access, but I can say the aesthetics of the curb cuts, closures will offer improved aesthetics onto Montauk and
Right,
Walker.
and safety.
It'll present a more controlled site. You're trying to get more controlled openings, egress and ingress.
Right.
Okay. So that's support document, not necessarily a condition, right? So historic, there's no conditions related to that I identified. Here's some specifics under transportation. This is the recommendation for no left-hand turns on a Montauk, but again, it's subject to DPW determination at the end. So I'm not quite sure if you want it to be a specific condition, because it may not be able to be met if the county doesn't approve it. Is it more important to have the walker as a condition?
Yes, that's a big condition.
So that'll be the third
I'm
item.
concerned.
Claire, would that be the Walker one? Would that be on, I mean, that's one that's a town road. It's not a private road, right? Or is it a private road?
It's town.
So that would be a
Town
town board decision.
No, we do this for site plans all the time. With
Okay.
no
Right.
input from the town.
You're gonna put the sign on site, no left out. You're not changing the direction of the street. You're just controlling it from inside.
Right.
So the no left onto Montauk Highway, my experience, I believe the county would support it, but maybe you can put that in there saying subject to, agreement by the county or something like that. So it is a
Yeah.
condition, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you on that.
So have it as a condition, but obviously it can't, if it can't be met, it wouldn't.
I
County
don't
approve.
recall the county having to agree to that. I think it's an internal, it's something we do
It's
all the
in the
time
site.
on North Highway.
If it's on site, in site, I'm not sure why they would get involved with that. But-
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we could do that. So we'll do that as a condition also. Okay. I'll add that. So this recommendation with the no stopping, Tom and I spoke briefly about this
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
And I think he's got some input with this, and I can clarify it under here.
yeah, the state law prohibits parking within 25 feet of a stop sign. So I don't think we need to ask the town board to implement a duplicate regulation to the state regulation. We might just want to rephrase that to request that the applicant, with the approval of the highway department, install a no stopping sign with an arrow, 25 feet from the no stopping, or from the stop sign. So in other words, we don't have to do the regulation. We just have to ask the applicant to put that sign in because it's already an existing regulation.
We'll do that.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I'm going to put that as condition number 5. The applicant be responsible to do that. It's obviously subject to highway approval.
And on Montauk Highway, do we also, and this would fall under the jurisdiction of the town, do we also then want to recommend a 25-foot or 35-foot no stopping along Montauk Highway from the intersection?
We had discussed that, Tom.
Right,
That's something that we would support.
right. Again, and I don't think any engineer in the world would disagree with it, but I think we recommend it to the town board, and I'm sure they'd have somebody take a look at it and implement it.
I wouldn't have a problem with that here.
So that's more internal, where the planning board would do a resolution to the town board recommending that the sign be installed. This is what I understand. Tom can correct me.
So one on 27 and one on Walker.
Right, so the
Right.
27 one would be, it's actually County Road 80 here, Montauk Highway, it's County Road 80. It would be a recommendation to the town board, but before the town board actually passes the resolution, they get the counties to say, yes, they have no issues with that first. So that's how you started, but it would be started with you doing a recommendation to the town board.
And that the applicant would agree to, pay for the cost of that installation, which I think they did when we discussed it last meeting. So,
Oh, so we agreement for both issues. So I'm going to make that 2 bullets, if that makes sense, because it's 2 different issues, 2 different
Yes.
processes. So that will be, so Montauk Highway would be the 6th condition. Okay.
With regard to the no left on Walker, I want to go back to Dennis's comment about should we wait to hear from people at the site plan review stage? Just kind of like to kick that around a little bit more.
I think if you go to the site, it's pretty clear that whatever you can eliminate dumping into the neighborhood and dumping onto Walker Avenue, then I think we're doing our job.
I don't think we're locked in though. If we get the public hearing and the public comes out and says, hey, we want to be able to access our homes after.
I doubt, Dennis. I doubt
Okay.
that people,
Right.
I mean, what they want is some restriction,
No, what they want is no convenience store.
commercial traffic. Well,
Yeah,
but the applicant is doing this to get one. If the applicant withdrew the convenience store and just built a new, good-looking gas station, it would be great all the way around. But they're looking at an economic model. I mean, we have no idea what the increased traffic is going to be with a convenience store. I think just logically what we can say and figure out is that there is going to be more traffic in and out of that place with people running in to get something. And that's exactly why the planning board, why we've been opposed to convenience stores as accessory to gas stations all along.
Yeah.
So, in addition to them serving beer, this is not, and so we did this whole study that recommended the size of convenience stores, limiting them. So it's not something that we really support.
No.
So, all right, Claire, you want to move on to?
Yeah, I think we've touched on the transportation part of it, impacts to noise. And this is, I would make this number 7, the potential impact. So the vacuum and air compressor will be eliminated from the site plan.
Yeah, it has to be prohibited,
Mhm. Okay, and then here's the delivery trucks. So this is the hours of operation. I heard, I'm sorry, 11 p.m. Is the night part-time too, and a covenant to that effect.
So that was the operation of I thought that the interior convenience store.
Right.
But the truck delivery of the gas is something different.
Yeah. Claire, before you leave the lighting section, could you pull up your?
We're not leaving. I think somebody want to discuss it, right? We need to
Oh.
tie this down, right?
I
The 11 p.m. would be a covenant.
Right, covenant, but it's operation. That was what we discussed the last time. The delivery of the fuel trucks was another issue when they would
Okay.
deliver.
Okay, so 8 would be the hours of operation, and then 9 would be delivery trucks.
Yeah,
I lost your screen share. I don't know where.
I put
You
it
took
back
it
because I
down.
thought we were
Oh, okay.
discussing this.
Sure. What are the hours of operation for the repair portion, the service station?
they said till 11 o'clock.
No,
They're
no.
repairing cars till 11 o'clock?
No, they're not going to
Current.
repair cars anymore, right?
No,
They're
we're
not-
currently.
We don't have
Well, it's
hours.
shut down now. It's not
Shut
even functioning.
So Claire, do you phrase that as it's not to open before such and such an hour and not to stay later than such and such an hour? Because they may find they want to shut down at 10 p.m. in the middle of the winter, so opening later or closing earlier
It's not a
would
problem.
probably be a good thing
Or
sometimes.
no later than 11 o'clock.
But
And I know I
think-
asked this last meeting to Christine. Ultimately, is it enforceable, and would it stand to challenge if they determine that it's too restrictive, the hours of operation?
Yeah, I mean, as I said last time, these are not viewed well by courts when you're getting too involved with the business of the operator. To the extent the operator is willing to do it, and with the extra added level of filing a declaration of covenant, That's all good faith, and as long as that continues, that works. In the event that there becomes an issue and it is challenged, the case law has not found favorably in large part for the imposition of those hours of operations, as it's thought that you're getting too involved with the business operation.
So it stands to reason that this could potentially, at some point, if they wanted to challenge it, become a 24-hour convenience store, right?
I don't know whether or not it could for other grounds, because that would certainly, I would believe, be such an intensification of this prior existing nonconformity that I don't think that perhaps that would stand. But
Right.
As it relates solely to the idea of hours of operation relative to this covenant and condition, perhaps, yes.
Also that this case is stronger, I would say, Christine, because it's unique in that it's the proximity to residences, and it's based on a secret decision. It was offered by the applicant. It's not something that was imposed by the board. The applicant is volunteering this.
True,
So-
and I mean, but in other instances, they have had instances where the applicant has volunteered it as well, and then later found out they needed more time, or as it's transferred hands and whatever. I do believe, I think the fact that it's part of a conditioned net deck has merit to it. So that's perhaps even another layer to this that would distinguish it from other cases, as would the covenant as well. But again, at the end of the day, it becomes up to the courts if it were to go that route. And I'm not saying that it would. They may be perfectly happy with this and content, and it may exist in perpetuity.
So by virtue of the fact that, and we'll use 11 o'clock as the example of as a closing time. Again, I go back to the report where we said that the impact on light and noise was small to moderate, right? And I maintain that it's moderate to high, because you're expanding the hours of operation, you're expanding the use, therefore more cars, more traffic, more noise, more light.
I agree. Should be
Yeah.
moderate to
And-
large.
And may I ask?
Can I make a point here? You have a noise ordinance within your code. All right, and it regulates these kinds of things. And I can tell you right now, I did a study on it that a backup beeper is not regulated by your noise code because it's an emergency situation. But you do have a noise code, and it does specify the decibels of noise to be that would be generated on site. And with the distance of where these would happen in relationship to the property borderline, these are reduced significantly. So it's all in your code.
Has the applicant indicated how many deliveries they maintain now, as opposed to how many deliveries will be anticipated upon if they were to receive approval ultimately from the zoning board?
If I can answer that?
Yeah.
My client, as we speak, and again, it is not because of the tanks are antiquated, because the tanks are going to be coming out. He is installing, and there's an application pending now with the county to update these tanks to 212. Right now, I believe that 2 6,000-gallon tanks on site, that these would be increased to 2 12,000-gallon tanks, which enables the operator to buy cheaper and take larger deliveries. The good thing for the neighborhood is it decreases the amount of deliveries, because it could be a one-stop, one-drop, goodbye, see you later truck.
Once a week or what?
These are all, and these deliveries that take place, by the way, they're not, there's a lot of misconception. It's not like your oil truck coming there. These are just, they're gravity, they put on these 8-inch hoses, they hook it up, it's a gravity feed, and you don't hear them. And they're not sitting there backing up these 40-foot vehicles. They're parked, unload, and on to the next one. That's how these guys make their money.
So is it your testimony, and to the extent you're testifying, I mean, you're the attorney, I'm not expecting you to testify, but I'm just, in terms of trying to get the facts, would it be fair to say, or you put any way you want, that the amount of deliveries will be, are proposed to be decreased on the gas side offset by any increase on the accessory use side, or is it going to be more, or how, have you looked at that yet? Maybe not, I don't know.
Our gas probably sales might increase a little bit, but the profit margins will be based upon the
Not
people.
sales, not sales. No, not sales. That's not our purview. I'm talking about deliveries.
I believe the deliveries, if the amount of fuel doubled, the deliveries would stay the same just based upon the changing of tank sizes.
We're talking about the convenience store deliveries, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, I thought we were back to gas. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, as the amount of deliveries overall for the site, compared to what the deliveries are for the gas, do you anticipate that the overall site deliveries going up or down based on this added accessory use if it's permitted by the zoning board? That was
I believe it would be going down. With the permitted use that's there now, automobile these guys nobody stocks parts anymore. If a person wants to change one particular part on a car, there's a van that's coming with an $8 item. That's the nature of the repair businesses these days. If you're stocking a convenience store, I could just see what over here. It's a bread truck, the ice cream guy. When they come in, these are not large. They're not large stores, and they're not big onerous deliveries.
Did we lose audio here or what?
Nope.
Okay.
We've been, if I can just interject, we've been talking about hours of closing. Have we discussed at all when they're going to open?
I don't think it's been mentioned yet. That was one of my questions.
Can the applicant tell us that? Did we lose them?
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I would anticipate a 5 a.m. I would anticipate a 5 a.m. opening.
Okay, so no earlier than 5 a.m. and no later than 11 p.m. To be specified in a CNR. Okay, so that would be condition number 8.
John, can I ask one other question? I think it's been touched on here, but maybe clarification.
Sure.
That's your opening and closing hours of operation. Do you anticipate that deliveries to the convenience store, the bread, the ice cream, the beer, the milk will be made within those hours too? Or are you the operation of the pump is gonna stop at 11 p.m. and then you're gonna have vehicles coming in 11 to 12 or 11 to 1 to deliver stuff to the convenience store? How does that work?
There will be no stocking of the convenience store once the premises is closed. That they're not going to have they're not going to have somebody there being paid by the hour to take a delivery in.
So
that will be during hours. So that's a great question. But as a practical matter, no, they would not be checking in deliveries there.
So any deliveries to the convenience store will be done within those operating hours of 5 to 11?
Yes.
Okay.
That would also go for the delivery of gasoline. The fueling of the facility would happen within those hours also. Most likely the later evening hours where traffic is slower, but not after 11 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
That could be part of that same CNR. Does that make sense?
sure. Can
So
we
no
move on
delivery.
to odor?
Yeah.
You say dumpster shall be fenced and screened with vegetation. What about pickups? I mean, with regular garbage removal?
I think that's what they intend to do. We could say that.
Well, they've never done this before, so
They have a dumpster on the site. But we can say with regular pickups. I'm sure they could add that language.
But can you add one more, maybe add one more item here as it relates to light, which is the question of, shield, how to mitigate, light from cars entering and parking in that back parking lot on this properties to the east and south.
Okay. So do you want me to add something regarding the landscaping buffer and the fencing?
Well, again, I don't know that we can be that specific in secret, but it's an issue. It's an environmental issue here, the impact on light on the adjacent properties. Because of the change of use, and how do they mitigate it? Right? I mean, that's really what the secret is about, right? How do they mitigate that to the satisfaction that for the residents and to satisfy seeker?
Okay. Property shall be screened so that light from car headlights
Remains on
is a
site.
nuisance to off-site residential uses.
And the lighting put in by the store, by the applicant, should not bleed over outside of their property.
That's what I was going to,
Yeah.
it should, going back to
no
lighting.
trespass, no light trespass.
That fourth bullet should maybe be augmented clear to say there's with 0 lumens or something, 0 lumens at the property line.
Okay.
Do we have a lighting plan or not? Not yet.
Not yet.
Probably not
Not
yet. Site plan.
Just as a point of reference, may I ask the applicant, when was the last time the repair facility was actually functioning?
I don't know that.
I don't have the answer to that either.
Okay. Anything else with lighting? I'll add that language. Like I said.
Community character. So I think here we're looking at not small to moderate. I think we're looking, right, Craig?
This is community plans.
But do we have any master plan guidance here or not?
This is zoned for I'm sorry.
Hamlet office. Hamlet office.
And is there a Hamlet study here
Yes.
that we refer to?
I'm just asking what your mitigation is for the community plan. So you're going to say moderate to large, but what's the mitigation?
What have you got down here? Proposed action sets a precedent for future impact on density, intensity of use.
I say the project's been redesigned to be more in keeping with the community plans. That is the aesthetics of the building.
I think that we need to make some reference here to the accessory use, to the convenience store.
Okay. I do that in the bullet number 2.
Right.
Zoning board will be required to determine the convenience store use as designed as access. Well, there's two different things, whether or not the community, whether this hamlet supports these sort of insignificant, well, not insignificant, but I mean, convenience stores and what they sell are no great service to the health of America. So is there anything in the Hamlet study that addresses that?
Not specifically to convenience stores.
Is there a finding that the change of a garage, automotive repair garage to retail sales is more conforming with the HO? This is HO, right? Am I clear?
This is HO. It doesn't
Yeah.
allow retail.
So in other words, there is limited, there is retail allowed in HO. Is automotive repair allowed in HO?
No,
Okay, I think
Okay.
we need to say that.
retail is not permitted in HO either.
Would the
me?
retail
I'm
be
sorry.
more
As
conforming?
an accessory use, retail is permitted in an HO zoning as an accessory use.
To what?
It doesn't say to what, it just says an accessory use.
No, it's not
And-
permitted. The only, I don't know any retail uses that are permitted in HO.
I think we have to say that.
I think we should say it first, right off.
Claire,
Yes?
330-33, accessory use, customary accessory structures and or uses, all right, is permitted under a HO zoning.
Yeah. Doesn't
But
say
that's
retail. Doesn't say retail.
Oh, I'm sorry, one of the accessory uses is other retail. If you go down the list.
Claire, I would put that, you're the planner.
Yeah, but I've already said it's, so you just say, you want me to state that retail is not a permitted use in the HO zoning district?
Yeah,
That's not a problem.
What is the mitigation of that? Like, are we saying then that the nonconformity is more conforming than the automotive repair shop? Because that would seem to be what you're saying.
but aren't they going to the ZBA exactly for that use? For the convenience store? Isn't that what they are looking for a variance for?
Right, but I'm talking about in terms of
What
this,
what we're saying is that it violates the code in HO.
right, but in terms of secra, which is what we're doing, are we discussing the conformity of mitigate the conformity effect as opposed to the prior? What was there as opposed to what is now being contemplated? What is the secret effect of that? And the mitigation, if you know.
I mean, how do you project that? Who knows? Except that we know that a convenience store will generate more traffic, both at the pump and at retail. So that does affect the hamlet. I mean, I would have to rely, Claire, on if we could get some hamlet language here.
Both uses are prohibited. Repair shop, automotive repair shop.
Right.
And convenience stores
Retail. Mhm.
and retail sales. So the question is, which use is more conforming, is moving more in conformity to the surrounding area?
Correct.
Does the
And
board
repair
feel it?
shops, I can tell you is not a pretty use. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a hard time even coming up with what the differences might be when the current accepted use is not currently being used. So we don't have any.
they could reactivate it tomorrow, Gloria. That's I think
Yeah, but we don't have any information that would lend us to say, well, this is how it's been used, and this is what the issues were with that use
I think
compared
it's on
to.
the C of O. Isn't the C of O, Chuck? The C of O is
It's
Fuel station.
the CO of a gas station, CO of a gas station with gas station and repair facilities.
I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning, did they have 100 cars there a week? Did they have 2?
They have as many as they want to cram onto that site. It's not a pretty use.
There are 2 bays, 2 repair bays in the garage. that can be used, and then there can be an impound yard on the site to contain cars that are being in the process of being repaired. And I'm not sure what the code is on that. I haven't researched that.
This site predates, I don't think there was any site plan on the original, this site predates zoning.
Mhm.
So there's no existing site plan, so they could cram cars, batteries, stacks of tires.
Which they did, but I understand, how do you make a comparison if you don't have the base information, the data, you know? It's pretty
Thank you, Jackie.
impossible.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
you
understand
could
they
look-
have the CO.
Couldn't you look at a similar use? There is a repair, apparently it was an old gas station, but it's now just a repair facility that's about 500 feet to the east of here, same side of the street down at the next corner intersection.
Is that dispensing
That
gas?
would be comparable.
their
They don't
gas
dispense
station,
gas there though, do they?
No, they don't sell gas. All they do is repair
No.
cars there.
So it's all repair. Here you have a
Correct,
situation
all
where it's
repair.
gas.
But if
And
you take a
repair.
look at this, if you take a look at the site, there's cars all over the site. It's, like I said, it's not a pretty use, but apparently it's approved.
Again, going back to when I worked for the town, that repair facility, I think it's to the west, unless I'm getting my
Yes.
geography confused. But yeah, that's been packed. That has been an issue. The number of vehicles parked in that repair facility all the time has been an issue with, again, the residents of the area have been very upset with how that property is being used.
they turn into junkyards, essentially.
Yeah.
I know code enforcement was trying to pursue the issue. I don't know what came of it.
Is this the facility that's right next door to St. Rosalie's? Further to the.
Well, can we get, I'm sorry, can we get
Yeah.
focused back on this?
Yeah.
It's 3:30. So I have some language. I'm not quite sure if the full board agrees to this, but I said retail is not a permitted use. The planning board finds the retail use is more conforming than the car repair use, but I'm hearing differences of opinions.
We can't compare it. I don't
Yeah.
think it's within our purview to compare it.
Right.
So, but that's not a condition. Is there any conditions part of this consistency with community plans? Possibly, I could add something related to the design of the project, which is what I've said in the community character also. If the board wants to add that, is to have that the building is designed in conformance to HO regulations. Would you want to add that as a condition?
Yeah, bullet number 1, I thought maybe sentence number 2, you could expand on that a little bit. Wasn't it reduced in size and redesigned?
Yes.
The, visual.
So
Maybe
the
you wanna
limit of the
expand on that.
13, yep. Okay, sorry to interrupt, you, but 1350, the size of the 1350 and the design in keeping with the HO standards. So have that as condition number 9. Anything else in these items?
What about
And
the parking
obviously-
spaces?
The parking spaces are 9 spaces being proposed.
So they're not meeting code there.
There are not, a variance will be required by the zoning board of appeals. I'm sorry, back to the size limit. I'm also going to say the size of the retail at 900 square feet is a limit also. So if they increase that, they'd have to come back. They're not meeting secret condition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you say also the dimensional regulations of parking appear to meet the standards of HO zoning district? How can that be if they're not meeting
Setbacks from the property lines, the 20 feet, the 10-foot setback from the side property lines. And the size of the spaces.
They're meeting all setbacks or not? I don't think.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Claire, you don't mention in that previous bullet that they need variance.
The property does not meet the parking requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But you don't,
that's the statement.
Yeah.
Not where 9 spaces are provided and not 14 are required. So the difference is 5 spaces needs a variance. You want me to
that's-
say that?
well, I don't know. Does that mean that tells ZBA that they need to give them a variance? You know,
That's part of their application, the ZBA.
well, I thought we generally highlight the variances that are needed.
We did that in a previous memo. I mean, the planning board did to the
Yeah,
previous
this
memo.
is a secret
Yeah.
determination.
Okay,
I can say that though, that's easy.
Should it be noted that this is not an approved use? I mean, I don't remember seeing that anywhere.
That's a good point.
I mean, I think we should go on record somewhere and just say it.
Okay, so hold on a second. I should say that in the first statement, but let's just go back. Redevelopment of gasoline filling station to a gasoline. The existing use redevelopment of the property represents a non-conforming use within the HO zoning district.
Okay.
Oh,
Try to say this clearly.
well, it gets lost. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of
Mhm.
like the sentence gets so complicated that you miss the point.
Here's the street trees again, but this is just a restatement from above.
All right, but Craig, do you want to weigh in here? Because this is impact on consistency with community character.
mm-hmm.
And you had wanted to say that it was moderate to large.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You know, as we're going through this all, you know, earlier, Christine, you know, she said the purpose of a conditioned negative deck. We were looking for significant impacts and how we can mitigate through conditions, and we're trying to find those conditions. And I'm going through this, and I'm struggling to find where we've mitigated some of these things, and I fear that we are really pushing square pegs through round holes at this point. You know, we've spent a considerable amount of time here, and you know, maybe we just can't mitigate some of these conditions. You know, the aesthetics, the impact, noise, odor, and light, they all still remain.
I agree with you, Craig.
I'm really not trying to be contrarian. It certainly isn't my nature. I just feel like this is so forced now.
Yeah.
When you say mitigate or eliminate,
Mitigate.
that
I know
means
we're
the
doing our
condition-
best, Dennis. I understand. We are doing our best, but and earlier you said, you know, what is the ultimate goal if we pause deck this? I did not think of what the ultimate goal was. I just said, here is a report. Do I agree with these bullet points? Yes or no? And in many cases, the answer is no. Whatever the next step in the process is the next step in the process. I'm not looking at a goal or an end. I'm just looking at what's in front of us. And what's in front of us to me is not fitting, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, I think the goal or the end is our ability to identify ways to fix it. And I think you and I are struggling with those ways.
I am, most certainly.
I think that's a decision up to the ZBA. We're not the ZBA, we're planners, and we should focus on the planning issues. They set on a course, they can reverse their course and take the legal implications. They just approved a BOLA application 6 months ago, similar scenario. Application can't be determined as to how many letters we get in our inbox.
No, that's not going into my thought process at all. I went through, you know, bullet by bullet by bullet.
And
So
in
there
my
is-
opinion, the BOLA application is across from a shopping center. So
And
there's
it's right
already,
next door to high residential.
I understand,
With the Lutheran
understand.
church, with the Lutheran church right down the street.
I understand that. But I still say there's a shopping center across the street.
Okay.
There's a difference.
So
for your-
impact on community character. I mean, is there anywhere here in terms of description that the structure that is there will be demolished? A new structure will be built, architecturally designed. You know, I think some people don't realize or may not realize that that is what's going to happen. And that I gather from what Mr. Prudenti said, much larger in-ground tanks will be installed. Is that true?
True.
So the site is going to be a demolition site for some time. We haven't even addressed that. You know, the impact of that kind of construction on a residential community and on a Walker Avenue.
If I may comment briefly on that, the construction of these facilities, first off, are highly regulated. Secondly, they are fast. So
Okay,
no matter,
so
it's not any different than any other construction project, and quite frankly, they tend to move faster.
For your consideration is a conditioned neg deck with 9 specific conditions in the support documentation.
Gloria and Craig, are you still uncomfortable with a conditioned neg deck with conditions that are strong and have to be complied with, or they don't get approval?
I'm uncomfortable with it, yes.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to come to a vote,
Yeah, I agree.
you know, so let's, Claire, you'll rewrite this so that we,
Yep. We'll have it tomorrow.
okay, so let's take a vote of who's in favor for conditional neg deck.
I'll make the
Okay.
motion.
Motion for conditional neg deck. All in favor?
Wait a minute, we need a second.
Second,
I'll second.
second by George. All in favor for conditional neg deck? 4.
Aye.
All in favor of well,
Well, who's opposed?
who's opposed? Yeah, opposed.
Opposed.
Craig and Gloria. So 4 in favor for conditional neg deck, 2 opposed. But Claire, we really need this language, you know.
Oh, I have it.
front
I
and
have it for you, and it will.
And maybe
we will get it
Christine
tomorrow.
can take a look at it as
And
well.
Claire, it may be productive to restate that the planning board has ongoing reservations about the use of convenience stores as accessory to gas stations. It states our position so that no one can misconstrue that we are in support of convenience stores next to gas stations. We're
Right.
not supportive of them on Walker Avenue or on Montauk High across from the shopping center or on the North Highway or anywhere.
Right.
It's not
I'll add
something we
if you're
support
in
for a whole,
agreement.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we had a strong statement that we wrote on that I think that's great to insert.
Yeah, just concerns. We're not saying turn it down or we're opposed. We continue to express, and that's been our consistent policy. I'm glad you said that, Jackie, because we've never embraced
Pushing
these
against it
applications.
for a long time. Yeah,
Never. We never embraced these applications.
right. Okay, so shall we move on?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your afternoon.
What's left of it.
Okay,
do my 311 Montauk Highway #4, and then I'll
Sure.
take a break and let Anthony go back. If that's with you guys. It's number
Yeah.
Number
4.
4.
Yeah, and if you could let Chris Barlotta in. Ooh, we lost him.
This is
I'm
the
here.
expedited review for replacing
I'm here.
this is the blue awning. with the
yeah.
lights.
Okay. Yeah, this is for the redevelopment of the property. You were prepared to act on it for the last meeting. However, I did want to have some landscaping in the front, and the applicant kindly provided this plan to us. I wanted just to show it to you. So, and I have a resolution prepared if you're acceptable to it. Let me just go back. So this is the latest plan. If you remember, this is the property in Spionk. It has the 2 birds on the side. And they're doing some improvements to the fronts. And we'd asked them to put some planters in the front, but actually they're taking up the asphalt. And so they're putting some pavers in here and then some plantings in the front here. So that should be good. They're providing a handicap space on the side. My only comment about the handicap space is just to make sure that the aisle, Chris, is 8 feet. When you put a handicap space in, that's the requirement. So,
Sure.
And so I have a condition of approval. If the board wants to consider it. Let's get to it. So, and it was referred to the ARB. They indicated their approval. And so I also mentioned the keeping of the 2 birds on the side. And then the requirement for the elimination of the front parking spaces. So they have already provided that. And I'm just going to have that, this condition number 1, taken away and just make mention to the handicap width on that. The fire marshal review and approval prior to issuance of a building permit, the lighting to be in conformance. And
Now, what about the lighting? They have these, is this the application that has the 3 lights, the goose
I don't-
lights? No,
they have the 3 goose lights. Yeah, they do
but
actually.
they're not
So
lighting anything. So
they're
what
lighting
about
the-
removing them.
Just the front of the building.
But they don't
Okay.
reach, right? They're over the awning.
I have a picture of it, I'm pretty
Right.
sure.
Yeah, okay.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
I can put it up if you want.
Yeah, do you mind?
Sure.
Chris, did you name the birds? I remember
No,
last time.
not yet. Not yet. Share screen. Yeah. Share. So it will be that there. The awning only comes out about 2 feet, so it almost comes out flush with this side. So it would be in front of the awning, the light, but that's it.
It would be.
Yes.
Okay, because when we looked at it.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
because
it's not
it's just
lighting
that, yeah, you can kind of see it where in the picture to the right where I took the awning out. You can see how there's the depth to the soffit there. There's a soffit in the front of the building.
Okay, that was the one question that we had.
Okay.
Otherwise, it
So
looks-
for your consideration. Just, yeah. This would be approval.
You need a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion.
motion by Craig, second by
Second.
Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is Jackie
Want me to
Fenler?
go
up?
quick? Okay.
Jackie,
All right, board.
do you want to take number 2, Windy Hill Farm, the performance bond?
No, Jackie's going to do her stuff last. She's here for the meeting tonight, so I'm just going to run through my stuff.
Oh,
So we're going to go to number 8.
$33 South Phillips Avenue.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Completeness, right?
Yep, so we have 32 South Phillips Avenue. This is a 2-lot subdivision, I'm sorry, 4-lot subdivision on South Phillips Avenue. This is the property right here, existing residents on it. We did a pre-app on this some time ago. They came in with the final application now that they have health department, 2 lots in the back, 2 lots in the front, flag lots with the common driveway serving all the lots. The final application is incomplete at this time.
Motion to deem the application incomplete by Dennis, second by
Second,
Gloria, and all in favor.
aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Okay, Jet Cab.
Jet Cab number 9. So this is a final application for a 2-lot subdivision off of Hedda Pond in Watermill. This property also had a pre-app. We got a final application in. It is for a 2-lot subdivision of that piece. The good thing about this one is we're doing a common driveway for serving both lots, but they're also doing this common driveway is also going to serve 2 existing lots, so they won't have separate driveways onto the road. So that was a good thing as part of the application. But this final application is also incomplete.
Motion for incomplete. Dennis,
Motion.
moved by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Gold Coast Development.
So Gold Coast Development, we got a final application in for a 2-lot subdivision. This is a property on Jagger Lane in West Hampton, R40 zoning district, existing residence and garage, 2-lot subdivision with the existing residence on 1 lot and a proposed on the other lot. There are some wetlands off-site, not much within jurisdiction of this property, but we still get a little buffer. This one is complete for a final application. And in this case, we had a hearing and they had a hearing at the ZBA. Really, not really many issues with this one. So I would recommend deeming it complete and waiving the hearing with a 30-day written comment period.
Okay, motion to deem this complete with a 30-day written comment period.
Motion.
Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Sean Dunn.
Sean Dunn, got a final application, came in for a 2-lot subdivision on Appacuck Point Lane in West Hampton. That's R40 zoning with an existing residence on it. Pretty standard subdivision. 2 lots with a flag lot in the back. This one is complete. However, when we did the renewal of the pre-application and a waiver of the pre-application policy, we have made a condition that we had to have a final hearing on this one. So I'm going to recommend that we deem this one complete with a hearing scheduled for May 26th.
Anthony, there are no wetlands over there?
There are no wetlands within the jurisdiction of this property.
Okay.
A motion to deem it complete and set a hearing for May 26th. Anthony, can you take
Motion.
that off? I can't see.
Oh,
any.
sorry about that. Sorry.
Motion by
Motion.
Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. 511 Farm.
Yep, just give me 1 second. This is it. Okay. So this is a new application. This is a property that fronts on, has a flag strip that fronts on Millstone Road. This is in Bridgehampton, and then has some frontage on Loper's Path. Has an existing residence with other accessory structures, including a tennis court and a man-made pond. There's an application that's in to subdivide this property into 2 lots. It has a 5-lot yield according to the yield map submitted. This is within the split zone. It's CR 80 and CR 200. I'll show you where that line is. Okay. So this is the subdivision map. Here's the flag strip coming up on Millstone. Here's Lopers. The yield map here shows 1 lot to the north. This is a lot that falls entirely within the CR 200 zone line, which comes right down the middle. And then they're showing 4 additional lots in the CR 80 for a total of 5 lots. The applicant is proposing. Let me go to the. I have my. I think I forgot a map. Hold on. All right. All right. But in any case, let's go back. They did submit, you could disregard my previous email. They did come up with a cluster plan
They did.
showing the 5 lots clustered to the north with an ag reserve on the bottom. So they did submit a cluster plan. Their preferred plan, though, and I'm sorry, I don't know why it's not attached here, but their preferred plan is a 2-lot plan. It would be 1 lot to the north here, 1 lot to the south here. And then as it relates to the 3 remaining lots that they were entitled to under the 5-lot yield, the applicant is proposing to retain the 3 development rights associated with the yield of this property. So that's sort of just the gist of the application. The application is a 2-lot plan per the applicant, reduced from 5 lots. They like to retain the development rights for the 3. And the plan that they submitted shows the 2 lots that they would like, and it does also show the areas that would be preserved as part of the TDR program. And it should be in the package. I'm sorry that it's not up here. So there's a little bit going on with this, obviously.
It's very, very confusing, Anthony. It's very confusing. I don't know
What are you
what they
confused
want to
about?
do. Well, you've got 5 lots as a cluster in what, CR 80 zoning?
CR 80 and CR 200.
So the upper portion is CR 80, so they're all undersized, right?
No, the upper portion here is CR 200. The CR 80 is on the southern side here.
They have a 5-lot yield.
They have a 5-lot yield. They're showing 1 lot within the CR 200 that conforms to zoning, and then 4 additional lots in the CR 80 for a total of 5 lots.
Is that an ag reserve?
No,
That's what they would show as. It would show as.
no, that's the ag reserve. This
Yeah.
one is no ag reserve. That's the
This
yield
is just
map.
a yield map here.
That just shows how many lots they can get.
And then from that 5-lot yield, they show a cluster plan, which shows an ag reserve to the south with the 5 lots clustered to the north. But the applicant's preferred plan, and I'm sorry, again, it's in the package. I don't know why it's not attached. Their preferred plan is just a straight 2-lot plan, 1 lot down here, 1 lot to the north, and then areas preserved, which is in the packet, because they want to retain the 3 development rights that they're not building. So that's what their preferred plan is.
Okay, so you're deeming it complete?
We're gonna deem this one complete and schedule the hearing
Public
for May
hearing.
26th.
I have a motion for that?
Motion.
Motion by George, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1.
Okay, and then 15 on the agenda is 204 Butter Lane WB LLC. This is Butter Lane, just to the south of the other project that we're looking at, the subdivision and site plan for Farrell. So it's just south of that. This has an existing LI 40 building. It's LI 40 zone. The application is for a pre-submission conference to change the use of this building to a physical fitness facility, which is now, as this board knows, a special exception use in the LI 40 zoning district, and to provide the parking on either side of the building. Again, the site plan is existing, but they want to change the use. That change of use is a special exception. And it looks like they would maintain the storage building. At least that's what the proposal is for. But this does require a pre-submission conference. So I was going to recommend having the pre-submission conference on May 26th.
May 26th, right?
Yeah.
Motion to deem this, well, it's pre-submission, so by Dennis.
Yeah, so you just schedule the pre-submission.
Second by
Second.
George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
And number 19 aren't signed yet, so we'll do that next time.
They're not signed.
Nope.
Okay, so that's off the agenda.
That is.
Okay. Okay, Jackie,
Hi, if Claire is here, I think she had one more item that she wanted to do, but I'm not sure.
Stone Creek? Is that 16? Stone Creek?
I think she had one more item. Anthony, is she with you? Oh, I lost Anthony too.
Hey, can you
Yeah, I
just
can-
go with Windy Hill Farm, start with
Sure.
that?
Yeah, no problem. So this is really like a cleanup item. This was a subdivision that was approved in 2007. Some of the board members may recall. So they're actually currently constructing the road right here and common driveway to serve these lots. But what happened was this was handled by a different planner and the performance bond expired. So now that we have an applicant who is developing the subdivision, and before we issue any building permits, we want to make sure that we have performance bond and security to ensure that the road is properly built for access to these lots. So Dennis and Jackie, I know you were on the board. This was in 2007. So this cul-de-sac is being built as well as this common driveway. So really it's just, I got a recommended updated bond number from the town engineer because work has started of $140,043.20. So this is a performance bond for those of you who haven't seen one of these before. And the true cost was $345. Because of the work done, it was lowered on April 12th to this number. So really, I'm just trying to clean this up and make sure that we get a resolution and get this before the town board so we have this money to ensure that this road is properly built.
And how are you holding it, Jackie?
It would be a performance bond, and I believe it's going to be with a certified check, which would be accepted by the town board.
Okay. Motion?
Motion.
By George, second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
6 in favor, one absent. You want to go into the Ocean View Park?
Do you
well,
mind if I just jump in and do my completeness? It should only take a couple minutes.
Where
That's
are
fine.
you, Claire? What number?
Number 16, Stone Creek Inn.
Yeah, okay,
That would be my last one. So
okay.
it is a proposal to for the planning board to approve outdoor seating on the property. So I believe the applicants are here. Yeah, Mike Shiano.
Is it complete or not complete, Claire?
I'm recommending incomplete, but I do want to, and I know the applicant wants to speak to you. They do want the outdoor seating. It definitely helped them during the pandemic, obviously, and they do want to possibly have some type of permission to continue to operate or start to operate for this summer. So, but do you want me to just show you the plan quickly?
Sure.
Understand it? This is the resolution for incomplete. This is the Stone Creek Inn. This is the existing building. It's definitely historic, value it. And this is the existing parking lots. So this is what it looks like as of 2021. They put in the stone area for a tent to go over it for the outdoor seating and a little waiting area here. And this is what it looked like prior to that. So there definitely has been some improvements, and that all is subject to the wetlands line. You can see it here. And but we just need some more information. The town engineers asked for some additional information too. And they'd like for this area to remain. They're going to remove this area, which is within the 75 feet. So luckily this meets that requirements. They're going to make everything meet the requirement. And they want to establish these not permitted prior, but some overflow parking areas on the property also. So that's part of their proposal.
So they're going to remove that loop that's in the.
Yeah, exactly. So so we'll have to get everything ready so we can do a formal referral to the agencies. But the applicant's representative is here, Mike Shiano.
Mike, you have anything to say other than?
Yeah, so we are seeking, as Claire said, we're seeking to seasonally transfer some of the interior seats to outdoor space. They had originally operated these during the governor's executive orders and the supervisor's emergency orders that were in effect to allow such of a use. And While many of the restaurants out here and in New York may not have fared well due to the pandemic, the Stone Creek Inn persisted and persevered through it because of the outdoor dining executive orders that were in effect. And they just want to be able to continue this in the future to serve the needs of their patrons. The outdoor seating areas were added to the site in connection with those executive orders and received the required approvals from the fire marshal. I just want to make sure that everyone was aware of that. It took us some time to get the wetlands flagged and located on the plan, get the survey updated, and now we're here to request this formally as a site plan application. The Stone Creek Inn receives calls on kind of a daily basis asking if they have outdoor seating available. So it's clear that there's many people going to restaurants that continue to be nervous about dining indoors. So we just want to make sure that the inn can continue to properly serve the needs of its patrons. We think that the Stone Creek Inn is good for the community, and the success of it is in the best interest of the community. So we're just trying to make sure that that continues. While we know that there are things that we need to address on the site plan, I would respectfully request that the planning board consider allowing the Stone Creek Inn to erect a tent in the locations shown on the plans for the summer while we work out these details. The Stone Creek Inn will, of course, secure all the necessary approvals from the fire marshal to ensure that it's safe for the public to use. And I just appreciate your time and consideration for that.
Thank you. So Claire, we're deeming this incomplete. And
Yeah, and essentially he's asking if he could possibly have some type of, not inviting permission to have the tents go up for the summer season as he's processing this application. I suggested that you may be able to do that, but also with the caveat that there's no vested rights with that. So if he prepares such a letter to you, would you consider that at the next meeting? So that's the question.
what about removing that already built loop that's in the wetlands, within the wetlands
We
boundary?
could authorize that also. So make sure that they put that up and have that as a condition. That could be in keeping.
Yeah, that would have to be. When was the wetlands line drawn?
July of last year.
Okay, so it's current.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, does anybody on the board have anything to say? Amenable to that? We write
Would that be
those conditions in?
subject to fire inspection or
Yes.
any other agencies? Or?
Yeah, we would have to get approval from the fire marshal for all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, just like the Channing daughters, they'd have to get that annual permit,
Right.
from the fire marshal too. So that's good. Okay, so we'll consider after the next meeting, but this would be incomplete today.
Okay,
Okay. And Claire, you just want me to submit a letter requesting that?
Yes, but with
Okay.
that caveat.
Details.
With that caveat, of course, yes.
And agreeing to remove that, obviously subject to the conservation approving that activity within the wetlands jurisdiction. So we should talk to Marty about how to do that.
Of course. Thank
Great.
you very much.
okay.
Thank
Do you
you.
want
So-
an action? Thank you. Do you want an action to deem it incomplete?
Please.
A motion to deem this incomplete by Dennis, second by
Motion.
Gloria, and all in favor.
Uh,
All right.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent.
Great.
Claire, do you
Thank
want to just do your signature? Do you have that?
Please, yes, it's been done for Glorian. Thank you. Number 18 has been
Number
acknowledged.
18 is acknowledged. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So Jackie, you want to go do Ocean View?
Actually, I was wondering maybe because Mr. Jogaza is going to come in and speak in length. My other items are quite quick, so I was wondering, do you want to run through those first and then
Sure.
go back to Ocean View and end with that?
All for that.
Okay, great. All right. So let me just share the screen. So I'm going to go to Wildlife Associates, which is number 7, right
Okay.
after Ocean View.
Covenant amendment.
Yeah, so this is the property. This tennis court was basically built out of compliance. This entire subdivision was restricted to 35% clearing restrictions. And this was prior to the aquifer protection clearing table that we now utilize. So we've done numerous of these in Wildlife Associates subdivision. This is lot 14 at 26 Peacock Path. They are aware that they're over cleared and they are actually going to remove this tennis court. But to clean everything up and get the legal documents proper on this, we're going to do the standard resolution that I'm recommending that would allow them to amend their covenant specific to this lot from 35% to 50%, which would be consistent with the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. So once we do that, we can move forward with the site disturbance plan to bring back native vegetation in this area. And I think they're also going to re-veg in the front.
Okay, can I have a motion for the covenant amendment?
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor. That's a super majority, 1 absent.
Thank you. All right.
You want Klug, number 13, Jackie?
Sure, yeah. Sorry, I think my.
That's completeness, and set a public hearing.
Correct, yeah, and Klug, so I just want to show this to you because some members were not on the board. I'm sorry, some of my stuff is out of order, my apologies. But this is the property. So this is a large property on Old Moriches Riverhead Road. We had approved the barn right here, as well as legalizing and authorizing the ag labor housing, which is this structure here. We also had further to the south, but this is a very big property. A few sheds and storage barns were approved, like very small areas where they, this property is so long. So I wanted to show you, this is the barn. And you can see here how it extends a little bit further to the east. They would like to essentially mirror that and do an addition over here for additional space for a farm office and more storage. So this is the pictures of the existing barn.
It's nice.
Yeah, so you can see here. So they're going to match the existing material. This has an overhang so they can pull tractors in out of the rain when they're working on them. They're going to do essentially the same thing on the side over here. But it is a very nice, tasteful barn. So this will be the side that's being added to, but it will essentially be a mirror image and all of the materials are going to match that existing barn. So we had deemed them incomplete and on March 10th, and they had provided me with the elevations, the materials, showing everything to match and a few site plan cleanup items that were needed for engineering. So I am now recommending that it be deemed complete and schedule a public hearing for May 26th, if that's still available.
Okay. Motion to deem it complete and schedule a hearing for May 26th by George, second by Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
6 in favor, 1 absent. And Jackie, number 14, Rodrigo Escalante.
Yes. All right, so this is the property. This is north of Flanders Road. You guys may be familiar, we approved a lot of residences down here. Actually, Matt had handled the recent one in this OD district here. So this is just across the street from this. This is that restaurant right here. But this is an existing R15 zoning residence. You can see that the entire property is cleared and being utilized by the existing residents here. They also own this neighboring property as well. And right now they're coming in. I actually spoke with the applicant's representative a week or so ago. So they're moving forward with a 3-lot plan with a single common driveway. I told them that, we really don't want this many conflict points on State Route 24. So they're actually going to remove that. All parcels are going to be accessed by one common driveway. So there'll really be no impact. We'll just basically shift that driveway over, have a nice conforming lot. They have also complied with the R15 and the excess of square footage as much as possible has been put into these bulk lots in the back. So this lot is about 16,000. These lots in the bulk area are roughly 18,000 square feet. So they took my recommendations under consideration, and this is the resolution. I am recommending that they be deemed complete. We are formally waiving the cluster plan. I don't see a need for a cluster. 25% of this would not be, a significant chunk of open space. There is open space to the west, but you can see based upon the aerial that this has all been really maintained as lawn. So there's no native vegetation. But, we were considering maybe allowing a buffer to maybe restore itself here as discussed in the staff meeting, Jackie. So at this point, I'm recommending that it be deemed complete and May 26th public hearing to consider the 3-lot subdivision.
So what if we got 1, 2, 3, I think 4 for May 26th, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, motion to deem it complete and set a hearing for May 26th by
Motion.
Gloria, second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
6 in favor, 1 absent. You want to do Campbell Ranch, Jackie?
Yes.
Completeness?
Let me see if I can find that. Okay, here you go. So again, some of the planning board members may be aware of this. We had done an initial site plan for the horse farm that went through a very lengthy review. And then we just did an amendment in 2019, 17 or 19. I think it was 17 and they finalized it in 19 for some of the structures to legalize. This is a walking structure. Also, we made sure that they had reopened this driveway access. So we made sure that was closed previously because we wanted everyone to utilize this intersection here rather than a conflict on New Light. So what they're here for now is they're going to increase the stables in this barn. This is the main stabling facility here, and then they did add 6 stables here. They do have room in this storage area, which is essentially here. They're going to add 4 more stables for the horses there, which will actually bring them to the maximum stables for 29 horses. But right now they have, I think, 24 or 25. I can't recall. But then they're also asking, I believe it's this building, which is an existing building. In the second story, they are requesting that there be 4 ag labor housing dormitory units. And as you can see, it's right in the middle. There really wouldn't be an impact to neighboring parcels because it meets all the setbacks in the middle that we kind of reviewed. So that's what they're here for. And then they do want to expand this indoor training ring, because this really gets most of the use on site when they're doing training lessons or, practicing for competition. So they want to expand this slightly and then change the material. I guess there's a more, so you can see here, this would be the expansion. This is where the ag labor housing is. This is where the additional stables would be. The main stabling is in here. And then this is the large indoor riding ring. And then this can show you, so they're adding these 4 stalls here, and this was all storage, so they're still going to have adequate storage here. And then this is the, sorry if it would go to it, sorry. This is the first floor of building D, and then they're going to add here, they're going to add these dormitory units, which you can see there'll be a joint kitchen, bathroom, and then bedrooms here for ag labor housing.
Jackie, the ag labor housing, they're gonna have to expand the septic, or are they gonna the septic for those, that additional housing?
You know what, I will confirm that with Kieran, but I believe their septic is probably adequate at this point, because they did already have a bathroom in this property and they're not exceeding the 6-bedroom threshold that kind of bumps it up for higher. But I'll talk to Kieran Murphy, could not be here today, but I'll talk to Kieran and make sure she's aware of that so she can touch base with them to see if there's an expansion necessary.
I'm just thinking might be an opportunity to get an IA system that's went in before the IA system.
Yeah, and if there is an increase in the flow, then we would have the nexus to require a new innovative system. But yeah, I'll bring that up with her. That is a very good point. It's funny to me though, because, the health department looks at things differently, sometimes it doesn't matter how many bedrooms there are, bathrooms there are. So, because they always have that bathroom there and there, as you can see, they're kind of over top of each other, but I will definitely look into that and notify the applicant. So this would be, so Jackie, as discussed, I am recommending that this be deemed complete, but since we had a bunch of public hearings already scheduled for May 26th, I did speak to the applicant and said that this would be scheduled for June 9th.
June 9th.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to deem it complete and schedule for June 9th by Dennis, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Jackie, that leaves us with the Ocean View Park.
Yep.
Can
Yeah.
you give us an overview of this, please.
I will. And then actually Mr. Gaza is here. He does not have Zooming capabilities at home. So I'm going to give you an introduction and then turn it over to Mr. Gaza because he is requesting bringing rights from outside of the Southampton School District, which the intent is to have the density that we're sending to these old file map parcels come from the same school district as to not increase residential density from outside school districts to, the actual district where the house is being built. But let me get to, sorry, there's a lot of attachments with this one.
But basically, there are enough rights for one developable lot, right?
Yeah, oh, so right now he's spreading them between the two lots. So one parcel is 46,000 and one parcel is 50,000. So let me just get this right. So 11.1 is development parcel number 3. So once I get to the aerial, you'll see that it's the northern development parcel. So this is development parcel number 3. This is development parcel 9. So development parcel number 3 has 46,771 square feet. They're proposing to fill up the approximately 53,000 with Southampton school rights, which you've always asked for in the future, that it's at least 50% from the Southampton school district, but then a full flat 100,000 square feet, because we're located in the CR 200, he is requesting to bring in 100,000 square feet from the West Hampton Beach School District. Then on development parcel number 9, this is slightly larger. So this is a 50,228 square foot parcel. So 49,000 square feet is coming from a Southampton school development right. But again, he's asking for a waiver of the school district requirement, which the planning board is authorized to vary in the code. But there has to be a nexus for that. And I asked him to prepare a presentation, but right now he is asking for 2 lots. If you were to only allow him to utilize Southampton development rights, essentially he would have to only receive approval for 1 and go back to the drawing board and try to find more rights. I'm not sure which one it would be, but this is also the map where unfortunately he withdrew the application, but as you recall, the road comes in here. We actually do have a nice road plan here with the cul-de-sac here. So when building, he's going to utilize that new road plan, but we were not able to secure fire prevention due to the cost. If you recall, we had a work session last summer about, it was almost like $3 million to bring the water here. So this does have an existing 1980 approval. So he withdrew that amendment because he could not achieve that fire prevention standard that the board was hoping for. And right now, these are 2 existing development parcels, which we did authorize abandonments right here, and then here and here, which made them slightly bigger. And these are
Jackie, a question. He couldn't bring in development rights from the town. The town has development rights, but they're not old file map development rights, correct?
They do have, so we essentially, the intent is a closed system because these old file maps were just laid on paper. They did not, basically have any relation to the actual geographical features, the infrastructure out here. So just so the other members understand, development sections are drawn up, but yes, he is requesting to bring outside development rights here and, build these 2 parcels in accordance with the 1980 plan.
But each parcel will have 50% Southampton rights.
As proposed, which is your previous recommendations,
Yeah.
he is adhering to that policy. But essentially by doing 2 at the same time, he does technically have enough for 1 full development right, but then would not have enough for the second development parcel. Mr. Gaza, though, is out in the hallway. So we are both recovering from colds. So I am going to just turn the screen to him so he can present to you his stance on, that he is unable to procure more Southampton development rights. So let me just go get him in the hallway, and then I'll turn the focus to him so he can give you his rendition of his request. Give me 1 moment. Okay, I'm going to turn the computer to you, so if you want to sit right there.
Okay. This is fantastic, because I couldn't do this without you.
All right, can everyone see Mr. Gaza?
Yes. Welcome, Joe.
Hi.
No.
Boy, Jackie's really helping me. I appreciate it because my daughter's pregnanting out on me. If that's the correct term.
There you are. We can see you and we can hear you. And Jackie gave us an overview. So you wanted to make a presentation.
Yes, I wanted to.
Jack, may I just ask a quick question to Jackie Fenlon?
Sure.
We're talking about 100,000 development rights for each property from West Hampton? I don't think I heard the number.
It's 100,000 square feet for each parcel. He is transferring the 53,000 for that northern parcel from Southampton to bring him up to 100,000 from Southampton. And then the southern parcel, he's bringing in 49,000 roughly, because that parcel is bigger. But both parcels, he is requesting 100,000 square feet flat for both parcels, because essentially what he's doing is the 46 is being brought up to 100,000 with the 53 from Southampton development rights. And then he's bringing in the 50,000, which will have 49,000 approximately development rights from Southampton. But then on both, he's proposing 100,000 square feet from the West Hampton School District.
So 100,000 in total, not 100,000 each.
No, 200,000 total.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Joseph Gaza, 5 Ogden Lane, Quogue, for the record. I'm representing Mr. Farrell's 2 corporate entities that own lots number 3 and number 9 on an approved development section map on the south side of Watermill Town Road in North Sea. This map has been before you now, probably 4 years since I started with Mr. Farrell. The last step is to land the development rights on the 2 parcels. Now, as I just heard you explain with Jackie, each of the lots is about 1.25 acres each. One's 46,000, one's 51,000. But when Mr. Farrell bought these 2 lots, he also came to the town and he tried to buy development rights to make his lots 200,000 square feet. And at that time, there was only one other person besides Gaza family members that had Southampton development rights. That was Suzanne McDonald. And Suzanne McDonald had her rights. She actually had 152,804 rights. And Mr. Farrell bought all of her rights. So now, besides Gaza, Mr. Farrell is the only one that owns Southampton rights. But even with the 152,000 that Mr. Farrell bought, when you add them to his 2 lot areas, he came up with 249,803. So he never had enough rights for 2 lots. Then he thought he was going to go to the land bank, which he read about in our code, or his attorney did at that time, but they found out that the land bank was never really funded and there weren't rights available to purchase from the land bank. So then, a roundabout way, he comes to Joe Gaza and he said, Mr. Gaza, I understand you have rights and you're familiar with old file maps. Can you help me with this application? And I said, well, I can, but I don't have rights in Southampton School District that I can sell to you. I only have a few rights and I've been saving them and safeguarding them because I need them for my own parcel that I own on Great Hill Road that's in my wife's name that has been an approved development parcel since 2010, but I never had the rights to bring it up to speed. So he said, well, but what's your idea? And I said, well, the planning board has a policy in effect. I said, the policy goes like this. If there are lots that have been approved by the planning board for development purposes, and they were approved years ago, and the owner of the lot has made an attempt to buy development rights to go through Mr. Wilcox's list and make calls to see if anything's available and search the market. If he's unable to buy those rights, the planning board will allow a 50%, up to 50% of the rights to come from an alternate school district. That has been the policy of the board. And I explained to Mr. Farrell that the board has done that for me on 17 parcels in the last 7 years. and I have a list of all the parcels where you allowed that 50% from the alternate school district, also with a copy of your resolution, which states that there's a section of our code that allows the planning board to do this with a 3/4 majority vote. And I was able to get that vote for the last 17 parcels that were old parcels that were approved on maps years ago. I'm going to give that to Jackie so that she has that for the file. So I said to Mr. Farrell, I said, look, if I can use my West Hampton rights to bring your parcels up to 200,000 square feet using 100,000 Southampton and 100,000 West Hampton, I said, I will do that for you with the catch. The catch is that you give me the 48,000 and change rights. Let me just get the exact number. Extra rights, 49,803 square feet of Southampton rights that would be more than 50% on your two parcels, because I need them for my piece on Great Hill Road. He says, I don't care. He says, if you can do it, do it. So my deal with Mr. Farrell is if I can succeed in landing my 100,000 square feet of West Hampton rights on each of his parcels, he'll put the other 100,000 on with his Southampton rights, and I'll get the 49,000 of his extra Southampton rights to use for my Great Hill Road parcel. That's the case. I have other documents I can provide for you from Dave Wilcox. He gave me a list of all the people who own development rights in the town of Southampton. There are 16 parties. 4 of those parties have Southampton rights. However, one is in the R40 zone district, and you can't transfer from R40 to CR200. One is actually owned by Mr. Farrell already. One is owned by someone that's not for sale. And one is one of the parcels that I'm using right now to transfer to my wife's property. I'll give the list to Jackie from Dave. Excuse me, I started to talk about both Jackie and I.
So Joe, have you considered putting all of the Southampton school rights on the one parcel, developing the one parcel, and then just come back when you get more of what you need?
Well, Mr. Farrell has already spent, I don't know, $20-some thousand developing a road plan. And he has to open up this road, bring in utilities. I don't think it's worthwhile to do it for one lot, even if he were to go along with that. But that would go against what I've been working with the planning board for the last 8 years. I mean, it's been your policy, which I followed, and if that policy changes, I may as well stop doing my developments projects because I only have a couple lots left and I can't get any more Southampton rights.
Jackie, could you just stop sharing your screen?
Yes,
Thank you.
no problem.
The main thing is that we have, there's been a lot of confusion that we have 50%. Jackie, I don't know if she's still there.
I am still here, I'm listening in.
Okay, 50% of the underlying rights are Southampton rights. Is that correct?
Yes, so he's got physical square footage. One lot is like 46 and change. The other is 50,000 roughly. So he is complying with what you guys previously recommended, and what your policy is that he's bringing in to make a flush 100,000 square feet on each lot from Southampton physical and Southampton sending rights.
That's the main thing, because I mean, years ago we recognized the shortage of Southampton rights, and we initiated this policy.
Yeah, and I had Mr. Gaza here today. The one question I had for Joe, if he can possibly add, is how many development rights have been issued to him in the last 5 years? Because I know we had the same issue on the Marla Schwenk map, where you did consider it when I was pregnant with my second son, Peter. And you did authorize that. So that was approximately 4 years ago. But there's no way for me to know what he's been issued in those last 4 or 5 years for development rights. So I wanted him to provide the board with that as well. Because, if he's been issued new development rights in Southampton, then, where is he using them? So.
Thank you. I have my list, which I'm going to give to Jackie right now. And you'll see on the list, I have received no more Southampton rights. I cannot get them. I've been working very hard with Ed Brody the last 6 or 8 months, trying to get whatever he has left. And I made a deal with him twice already, and both times the deal fell apart. And I don't want to bring up the story of Mr. Brody's rights, but they're not available. As a matter of fact, some of them may have been used twice. And I have never used rights twice. I've been straight with the board. I've done my homework. I've only landed 200,000 square feet on each parcel. I haven't chiseled around and brought them in from twice. I've never done that. I'm appealing to you because I can't get Southampton. I can get I'm up to 100,000, but I have to use the other half in West Hampton. And there's no place to use West Hampton rights because there's no development projects in West Hampton. It's all Pine Barrens, and they don't permit developments to take place in the core area of the Pine Barrens. I don't know what I'm going to do with these West Hampton rights. I have, you'll see on the list, which I'm going to give to Jackie, I have about 13 development rights in West Hampton. And I've been holding them since 6 or 7 years. I have the list, which I'm going to give to Jackie. It shows every right that I have some of my daughter's name, some of my son's name, but I have West Hampton, I got Bridgehampton, West Hampton, Spionk, Quiog. The only Southampton I have is the ones I'm using today.
What about Bridgehampton?
I have them, but they're not on old file maps.
They're not old file maps.
They're from described property.
Yeah.
They're so particular. I mean, I have a Southampton right, but it's from a described piece of property.
Yeah.
Right. And it has to be
Can't
old
make the
file.
match. Remember that came up a few
Yeah,
years ago.
yes,
You
right.
can't make. That was the other rationale for our policy, because you can't bring the described rights over
Into
to old file maps.
Right.
Yeah.
Jackie, does that answer your question?
Yes, and I just, there's no way for me to track what Joe does. So I needed him to present all of the information to the board because this does require a majority plus one supermajority vote of the planning board. So, I know we have new members that haven't heard this presentation. So that's why I asked him to come in today and, appeal to you and request this. You do have the authority in the code and you have done it before, but obviously the intent here, the greater intent is to not add density to different school districts. But with this, he is following your policy. So I just, I wanted him to be able to provide you with that information because I was not able to.
It's going to be beneficial, I think, Jackie LaFaro, to have Jackie Fenlon give us a redux of the old file map presentation she did a couple of years back, because we do. I can see the new board members.
You read my mind. You read my mind.
Yeah, I'm looking at the gallery view now, and I'm saying these fellas,
Right.
their eyes must be glazing over.
Craig, Tom,
We're giving you a pass on this, guys. I'm telling you.
Jackie does a very good workshop.
Yeah, that might
Credit
really
for
be good. And we'll get credits.
on old file.
I remember
maps.
some of this, but not all the details.
It's very unique and specific.
Yeah.
And Jackie has the knowledge, and
Yeah.
there are very
She
few
did a great
developers
presentation.
who operate in this field.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Gaza is one, and Ed Brody. So what are you looking for here, Jackie? Just a discussion, or?
Well, you know what, I wasn't sure how the planning board would go, but these resolutions are really more math equations. So I'm well versed in preparing them. I did have them drafted, but I didn't know how the board was going to move, to be honest. But I am comfortable preparing these resolutions now that it seems that the board understands, Joe Gaza's specific request. and he is following the 50%. So I can draft those resolutions and finalize them. It's really just math at the end of the day. And Joe and I had a scheduled conference call about 2 weeks ago where we went over everything, and everything does match up. And then it will be reviewed by Christine in the town attorney's office with all the title information provided. But if you're comfortable, I can proceed. This is agenda item 5 and agenda item 6. So we could take motions if the board is comfortable. But again, we do need that 3/4 majority.
So
Yeah,
can we,
so
I
why
was gonna
don't-
say, can we
Well, why
adopt?
don't you, sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jackie.
Jess,
Sorry.
why don't you draw up the resolution so that we know what we're going to be voting on next go round?
Well, the
all-
only thing-
Yeah, all
I-
it is what I've displayed to you now, which is basically that the 46,000, the.
Yeah, no, okay, we get that.
Yeah, yeah,
but
so
that-
I'm comfortable writing it up if you're comfortable moving it today.
Yeah, I think, Madam Chair, the thing I think we have to consider is we're gonna lose, you're out next weekend, and then we're gonna lose a board member after the 12th, and we need those numbers. So, I mean,
Okay,
if
so
we
let's
can,
take a vote.
we should
Yeah.
adopt a generic resolution, let
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah, I'm comfortable writing it up. It's something that I do customarily, so it's just really making the math work. And I went over
Yeah.
this very detailed with Joe. I found an error in his first submission and we corrected that, and now everything works perfectly, as long as you're comfortable with the West Hampton rights coming in.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
well, that is our policy, 50%. Tom?
I'm a little bit familiar with old filed maps. My ex-father-in-law used to deal with them in East Hampton, but, I'm very honestly, without understanding a little more about planning board's policy and, what Joe's asking about, I would be hesitant to vote on a resolution until I understood a little more about what's, what this is all about.
Yeah, so Tom, I'll just simply try to explain it, but I can definitely speak with you and explain it in more in depth. But in the 5-acre zone, a developer, if they want to seek development on an OFIL map, they have to have at least 30,000 square feet. We determined in 1980, the planning board did approve this map with, I think, 10 development parcels.
You want to turn this around so you can see?
Can you put your mask
Oh,
on?
yeah.
Sorry. Here,
There you go.
let me take it. So, sorry. Switch on, switch off. So this map, Tom, is a map that stands. This is where an OFA map, so this does go further to the south. And we did have a recent amendment that was submitted on this that I just told you at the beginning was withdrawn. But these lots in 1980 all met that 30,000 square foot requirement for the CR 200. It didn't mean that they were ready to build, but with those lots, you then have to meet the 5-acre zoning. So that means each individual application on these comes in with development rights from an OFIL map and from the same school district. So what we're dealing with today is the pink and the yellow. They both meet the 30,000 as determined. They both are in an area that in 1980, the planning board determined was close enough to a town road and infrastructure and utilities that they could be developed. The rest of the map was determined not to be developable. And this is all to be preserved to the south pursuant to the 1980 map. So what we do now on each application to build is we say your physical square footage. So on this one, it's the 46,771.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
this one meets 30,000 and actually is bigger, slightly bigger than when it was in 1980 because he abandoned the roads on the side. See those roads right there?
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
See that? And then, so this one also, we did authorize the abandonments on this one side and on the south here. We are trying to maintain access because technically this parcel, if it ever was to come in, technically does meet the development standard and ownership pattern for possibly being a development parcel. So I want to keep that route open in case the planning board ever wants to do that. But at this point, we already determined in 1980, this had more than 30,000, this had more than 30,000. Right now, what you have to determine is if you're comfortable bringing in the 53,000 to this one, which would bring it up to 100,000 square feet Southampton development rights. And are you comfortable bringing in the 49,000 Southampton development rights. But that basically makes it a flush 100,000. And Tom, we had discussed this in depth with the planning board. And I know George is familiar from an engineering standpoint and road access point, so he understands the concept. But basically what we're doing is we're using this physical land. This was all laid down on paper prior to there being a planning board. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give development where it's proper, but then say it's not proper where it is. So, where it's deeper in the woods and it doesn't have access to roads and utilities, and there's sensitive environmental features such as the aquifer protection or wetlands or geographical, like some have even like glacier erratics. We say, no, you're not developing here. You have no standing for development, but you can use these lots as development rights to send to the parcels that we've determined are appropriate for building. So in this case, we've done all that work in 1980, and then we had an amendment that unfortunately was withdrawn. But during that amendment, Joe and I worked closely with the town engineer and the surveyor. We have a really nice road plan that was not determined in 1980. So he's going to utilize that road plan to get access to these lots. And it was very difficult because this is very hilly terrain. I walked it. It is extremely steep slope.
I've been up there, I guess maybe, and thank you for that quick webinar. Just if this has been granted 17 times in the past, is this going to happen 50 more times, 100 more times?
Aren't that many?
I don't believe so. And I'll turn it over to Joe. Joe, do you want to just stay Matt?
Actually, Jackie, before you go, what happens to the school tax associated with each transferred property?
It's still taxed as a residential improved property. So, the school taxes apply to Southampton School District. None of them go to West Hampton because the actual residence and the actual need is there in Southampton.
So in this case, if you're transferring from West Hampton to Southampton, West Hampton will lose a taxable property and Southampton will gain one.
It actually won't really, because these theoretical West Hampton development rights were in areas that were not allowed to be developed either. So if you think of it, there's always a developable portion, which is essentially large enough to develop reasonably and close to infrastructure. The rest of these West Hampton maps are mostly in the Pine Barrens. So there happens to be an excess of development rights in the western half of the town because of the establishment of the Pine Barrens core and compatible growth area. There's actually, and Joe is right, there's actually not a lot of opportunities in West Hampton to bring these development rights, but there is a plethora. So a lot of times I see the development rights for the West Hampton area, Riverside area, they'll be used more for health department flow purposes, where the health department doesn't really care where it's coming from, as long as it's staying within the town and it's appropriate for their standards.
Do we run a risk of overdevelopment by transferring out of what would ultimately not be developed anyway and transferring?
And that's the greater intent, making sure with our OFAL map, we were thoughtful and conscious of that when the OFAL map law was instituted in 1977, is that's why we have the intent. The intent is it has to be in firm on OFAL map. So that way we close all these little parcels that can't really be developed, but we give somebody a partial monetary value for them. So these little grid lots that people hold on to, I have to be the bearer of bad news like so many times where they're like, my grandmother left me this parcel in Southampton. Can I build on it? And I have to 90% of the time say no, but it can be used as sending rights. So it can be used as that partial fraction to send to a lot where it is appropriate to build.
So it's puzzle pieces moving around to make a usable puzzle in a sense.
Yeah, right. And only the town can open up an OFAL map. That's the purview of the town. And in that, you have sending parcels or receiving parcels. If they're sending parcels, it means that they're not to be developed, but they still have rights. So you can move them someplace else. Exactly. If it's receiving, you can develop it, but then you have to bring rights in.
But to answer your first question, there aren't that many development parcels left in Southampton. Joe had he's got a master list. Remember a few years back, he had this whole presentation. He actually pointed them out on this overall map. The other thing I'll say, going back to policy, is that if we ever open up a new development section in an old file map, by policy, we require the applicant to demonstrate that they have sufficient rights in that school district before we'll open the map. These maps, this map, particular map was opened in 1980, which I'll add, Jackie, I don't know if you're aware, back then, the zoning was 2 acres. So you only needed 80,000 square feet of rights to land to get a building permit. Then it jumped up in the upzoning to 200,000.
Yep. Yeah, and Dennis, that's a very important point because I think that'll make the newer planning board members more comfortable. When we now look at new residential development parcels, we do mandate that they all come from that school district because we're not going to create another parcel that can't get filled. But in this case, this is an approved development parcel that met all the criteria. He is bringing in the excess from Southampton as much as he can to bring it up to 100,000. And then 100,000 is basically being eliminated from West Hampton, but it's in areas that was never appropriate to build. Therefore, it's basically removing density from West Hampton, but that density was never really going to come to fruition.
And you couldn't really use the one in West Hampton on any old file maps because there are no old file maps that are developable in West Hampton, right?
So,
Right.
There are a few, but not many in West Hampton, because a lot of them, unfortunately, did not have access to actual public road infrastructure. A lot of them are maps, islands to themselves. So if you ever want, I can show you the West Hampton area. A lot of it is in the core, a lot of it was developed, but a lot of it can only be used as sending parcels. So there is an excess in West Hampton. And again, the only thing I could see them being used for would be clearing rights, which we just had one in the summer of 2021, where we used that for additional clearing rights, 33 Whippoorwill. So that was one that was used for them to have additional clearing and extinguish. But otherwise, what I see them used as is sanitary flow with the health department.
Okay, so if we take a vote on this, we need a supermajority, meaning we need 5 votes.
Correct.
But to do separate, there are 2 applications, right, Jackie?
There are 2 applications.
We would
Yes.
need separate
So
resolutions.
on number 5, Ocean View Park, map 105, parts 4 and 5. Do we approve this with, as presented?
I'll move it.
Move it by motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've got a supermajority. Okay,
Yeah.
so
And this will be subject to all our standard conditions. They have to comply with aquifer
can I just give a
protection.
vote? 6 in
Oh,
favor,
sorry.
6 in favor, 1 absent. Number 6 is Ocean View Park, map 105, parts 4 and 5. A motion for that?
And I just want to note, this one has a road dedication easement on it to make the road plan work, which is on the survey that we were scrolling through earlier. So it'll be
Motion to
subject to that.
approve this?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 6 in favor, 1 absent. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank
And we
you.
will take you up. We'll do a workshop on that.
Yeah, that'd be great, Jackie.
Absolutely.
Such a
Yeah,
great
and-
job the last time.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's why, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I've been through your description, but I could use it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff
And
today,
that's why,
actually.
that's why I wanted Joe to come here too, because I know we have a lot of new members. So he needs to explain the rationale and it's specific to his, application. So I
Right.
think it was important that
Okay.
you heard from him.
Great.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, board members. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're back at 7 o'clock. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions.
See you guys at 7.
6 in
Anybody
favor,
at
1 absent. See you at 7.
Bye.
See you at
Bye.
7. Thank you.